Hello everyone, I'm Kiran Thakur. Today I'm here to share my UPSC journey. My UPSC journey has been one of persistence and continuous learning. Over the years, I have made 6 UPSC attempts, cleared the preliminary examination 3 times 2021, 2023, and 2025. And purely my success in the preliminary examination was through self study. I did not enroll into any formal coaching for my preliminary examination. I've written 3 mains examination, the latest one being 2025. In 2025, I missed the UPSC interview call by just 14 marks. It was disappointing, but it strengthened my belief that every setback is an opportunity to grow. With respect to my mains preparation, I enrolled for history optional coaching. I received guidance from one of the legends of history optional, Hemant Jha sir, which literally helped me in deepening my understanding of the subject, because of which I was able to score 138 marks in paper 2 and 147 in paper 1. Today, I'm working as an academic advisor, as a UPSC faculty, associated with many institutes, mentoring aspirants while continuing my own journey of learning. That is why I have started this channel, History for UPSC. It's a dedicated platform covering history for UPSC prelims, GS paper 1, that is, we have the history as a part of GS paper 1, the topics like Indian heritage and culture, modern Indian history, world history, post independence. So, that I'll be covering. And most importantly, I guide students for history optional. My intent or my goal is to make preparation of history simple, conceptual, and exam oriented so that you can avoid the mistakes I made. And I want you guys to prepare for this examination with confidence. Okay. So if you are serious about UPSC, join me on this journey. Let's learn, let's grow, and succeed together. Now, uh, when you talk about, or when someone asks me, how has been this journey, like after 3 mains, after not succeeding in this UPSC examination, what is the key takeaway? I will just say in one word that the experience that you enjoy during this process, no one can take you. Trust me, for my 3 mains examination, the way I studied, and especially during the 2025 examination, my mains examination, the way I put all my efforts, literally, I am cherishing my efforts, my hard work today as well. And I think so, this experience will last with me throughout my life. No one can take that experience from me, that learning from me. And definitely, this examination has made me more robust, has made me more dedicated, more persistent individual, and nothing goes waste. I absolutely believe in the fact that the hard work never goes waste. The karma comes back, and definitely when you will come out of this process, you will be a better individual. And that's it about this journey. In the upcoming sessions, we will be talking about my strategy, my resources, and definitely in this initiative, I'll be guiding how to clear the preliminary examination, because the first challenge in this civil services is to ace through the prelims itself. Okay, so through my experiences, I'll be guiding you guys with respect to this. So if you're serious, join me in this journey. Thank you. Hello, aspirants. Welcome to this UPSC Civil Services preparation journey. Today, I'm going to talk on my UPSC strategy. So, as I have mentioned earlier, I have attempted UPSC Civil Services examination 6 times, and out of which I was able to clear 3 times the preliminary examination. So, I have written mains thrice, and I cleared 3 prelims purely with the self study. Okay, so today I'm going to discuss my UPSC preparation strategy, and this is the month of August, right? So, August has begun, and this is the right time to begin your civil services preparation if you are aiming to clear or to attempt the preliminary examination in 2027. Okay, so ideally, this strategy will be very helpful if you are aiming for for appearing the examination in 2027 or in 2028 as well. Okay, so without wasting our time, let us begin with the discussion. So First of all, now since I have mentioned that we are in the month of August, okay? So from August till December 2026, what should be your focus? That we are going to discuss. And then we are going to discuss from January and onwards, what should be your target. Okay. Now, first of all, from August till December 2026, your complete focus should be on your mains examination, mains preparation. Okay. So, mains preparation, that should be your focus till your December 2026. In mains, ideally, I would suggest focus on GS1, GS2, and GS plus focus on your optional. Okay. So optional is equally very important. So focus on these papers. Now we'll dive into why I'm telling you to focus on this. Okay. Now optional is very, first of all, talking about optional. Optional is very crucial in deciding your selection. Fine. Why? Because we all know that it is of 500 marks. And if you want to see your name in the final PDF list, so at least your aim should be to reach to 90 to about 300 plus in optional. And to get this score in optional, you have to literally master it till December so that, see, at least your notes of paper one and paper two. So in optional, there are two papers, paper one and paper two. So your notes of optional should be ready by the month of December. Okay, notes should be ready. Plus, at least previous 10 years PYQs. This is the ideal strategy for optional. Okay, so if this is ready, so after prelims, hardly you get not even 3 months. Okay, less than 3 months you get. So we'll take on an average, if you get 3 months after your prelims, so in that 3 months, your focus should be just and just revision of your optional and giving your mocks, writing papers. So till December, you complete all your notes of your optional, both the papers, paper one, paper two. Try to solve at least previous 10 years PYQs. So your material is ready with you. So in that 3 months window, you will get enough time to revise and attempt the papers. Okay. So that should be a strategy. Now coming towards the GS papers. In the GS papers, first of all, I'll talk about ethics. So ethics is doable, very doable. If you are good at writing answers, a basic average on an average answers, if you're good at writing, easily you can score 100 plus in ethics. And if you do value addition, 120 plus is also possible in ethics. Okay. Now, when I talk about in ethics, we know that there are two sections in ethics. Section A and Section B. Section A is the theoretical part, theory part, and Section B is your case study part. Okay. Correct? So, theory, if you look at the ethics syllabus, you have broadly 7 units in ethics. So, trying to prepare definition for each and every keyword given in your syllabus, each and every term given in your syllabus is very important. Trying to prepare your own definitions for it, revise those definitions, prepare a list of keywords and examples. In ethics, examples play a very important role. Okay. So for all these 7 units, you have to prepare this. You need to have your definitions ready. You need to have your examples ready. Plus you need to add your keywords. Okay. Highlight the keywords, memorize those keywords. In ethics, it is very crucial that each and every answer contains the ethical keywords. If you are not using the ethical keywords, your answer is generalistic and that will not fetch you marks. Okay. So that should be your ideal strategy. Parallelly, try to attempt the case studies. So this theoretical knowledge will help you to use that theory, to use that keywords in your case study. Okay. So this should be your goal that till December, you should be completing your entire ethics paper. Also look at the PYQs of ethics. PYQs repeat okay, in ethics. So it is very crucial that you will be solving the PYQs as well. Coming towards GS1 and GS2. Why I'm telling you to focus on GS1 and GS2? Because this will help you to build your prelims knowledge as well. So if you look at GS1, in GS1, the very first topic is Indian heritage and culture. Heritage and culture. If you prepare this topic thoroughly, your art and culture of prelims is managed over here. So in prelims, many questions are coming from history. Art and culture is dominating the theme. So if you prepare your heritage and culture very thoroughly for your mains examination, your art and culture of the prelims will be taken care. Next is modern India. Modern India dominates in your mains examination, GS paper 1. We have 3 to 4 questions from modern India. Same will be helpful in your prelims as well. Then we have geography. We have world geography, physical geography in your GS1. Even that will be helpful for your prelims. Directly, your prelims geography will be taken care over here. So try to cover GS1 in a thorough manner so that your basic foundation of your prelims will be established. Similarly, when I talk about GS2, in GS2, we have the questions from polity, from Indian Constitution, okay, governance. All this will help you even in your preliminary examination. Fine. So, in this manner, if you are preparing for mains and for optional till December, not only you are ready for your mains, but even your prelims foundation is laid. Apart from this, it is advised that you need to read at least one newspaper. Okay, daily newspaper reading is must. So you can read either Indian Express or you can read the Hindu. All right, and you can follow a magazine of any classes of your choice. Okay, so you can follow a monthly magazine of any classes of your choice. So at the end of the month, you can have a gist of whatever is being given in the month. Okay, so that should be your way of preparation till December. Fine, I hope it is pretty clear. Let us move ahead. So now what should be your strategy for the just a second. Yeah. Okay, I'll clear the slide. That would be better. Fine. Now, from January, what should be your strategy? So, this is your strategy till your December. Okay. So, from Jan, what you should be doing? So, from January onwards, your complete focus should be on preliminary examination. Now, this is very crucial because clearing prelims itself is a very challenging thing. Okay. We all know that literally 10 to 12 lakhs fill the form for the civil services examination. Out of that, 5 to 6 lakhs appear for prelims. Okay, lakhs, they appear for prelims. And out of this 5 to 6 lakhs, only 14,000 are able, approximately 14,000 are able to clear prelims. So prelims is basically your filtering stage. It filters your maximum competition. So maximum competition ends here itself in the preliminary examination. So out of this 14,000, so 14,000 appear for mains and hardly 3,000 clear the mains examination. Okay. So 3,000 clear the mains, appear for the interview, and depending upon the vacancies, approximately 1,000 get into the final services, right? So prelims is very crucial. The biggest hurdle is acing the preliminary examination. Okay. So from January onwards, complete dedication, complete focus on prelims. Fine. Now see here. Already when you are preparing till December, you are covering the current affairs. You are covering GS1. You are covering GS2. So you are actually doing your 30% work of your prelims. Okay. Now you have to focus on the 70% part of the prelims. So I divide the UPSC examination into two parts, which I'll be talking on. Now we all know that UPSC syllabus is infinite, it is vast. But remember, it is not impossible. Every year, students manage to clear the preliminary examination. So, though it is infinite, it is not impossible. Okay. If students clear it, then definitely it is doable. Okay. How to do it? Let us try to understand. Fine. So, I divide it into two parts. One is the predictable part, and second is the unpredictable part. Okay. Now, what is this predictable part? Predictable part, it is that core part of UPSC where every year you expect specific questions, and these questions definitely will come. Questions in the sense, these subjects I'm talking about, okay, the core subjects. Like, for example, economics. Economics is the foundation of clearing UPSC prelims. Mind my words, every year, 20 to 22 questions come alone from economics. And if you do not master economics, it is very difficult to clear prelims. Okay. So economics is the first core subject of UPSC. You need to have a good hold over all the basic foundations of economics, all the basic terminologies. Because if you look at the paper, at the questions, these are mainly application based. So until and unless you are not thorough with the concepts, you cannot apply those concepts. So theoretical understanding of the concepts of economics is very crucial. So first core subject, every year you will get these many questions is economics. Okay. The second subject is your polity. Every year minimum 11 to max 18 questions come from polity. Okay. So if you know that these many questions are about to come and you know the sources, the specific books, you should thoroughly master this subject. The third important subject is your history. History every year minimum 15 to maximum, like these days we are getting 20 to 23 questions from history. All right. So if you are acing history, you are in the safe zone. Next is geography. Geography, minimum you get 10 to 12 questions. So if you look at this part, this is broadly your 50 to 60% of UPSC paper. So your 50 to 60% of the UPSC paper is dominated by the predictable part. And what is the cutoff to clear preliminary examination? Is it 90%? Is it 80%? No. Your cutoff is well below 50%. Getting it? If this is the cutoff, then your strategy should be, first of all, to master the foundation of preliminary examination, that is, these subjects. If you are mastering these subjects, you are in the zone of clearing prelims. Okay. So, first, have a good hold over these subjects. Now, I'm not telling you that if there are 60 questions from these four subjects, you will be in a position to solve all 60. Not possible. From economics, if there are 20 to 22 questions, and if you're studying this subject thoroughly, you will be in a position to solve at least 15 questions correct. Similarly, about polity, if there are 11 to 18 questions and you are very thorough, you will be in a position to solve at least 10 to 12 questions correct. History, if these many questions are coming, okay, if let us assume 22 questions are coming, if you have studied this subject very thoroughly, you will be in a position to solve 12 to 13 questions. Geography, you will be in a position to solve 7 to 8 questions. So it does not mean that if you are studying everything from these subjects, you will be in a position to solve each and every question. No, that is because this examination is not that simple. You're preparing for the one of the world's toughest examination. Getting it? So the standard, the bar is very high. The bar of questions, the standard of questions is very high. And feel privileged, feel royal that you are preparing for this examination. Getting it? And with that mindset, try to ace your strategy, create your strategy, and master it. Fine. So, out of this 50 to 60 questions, you will be in a position to attempt max to max 30 to 35. And that is also a big achievement. Getting it? Now, coming towards the unpredictable part. So, unpredictable part is the part which varies, okay? Varies in the sense current affairs. Now it is very vast. You do not know, even if you study, even if you daily read Indian Express, you read the Hindu, you study the magazines, but then there is no guarantee. Whatever you study from there, you will get the questions. So it is a very unpredictable part. Okay. Second thing, the questions related to your international relations, IR, mapping. Okay. Because here also it's too vast, so you cannot predict from where the question will come. Third is environment. Okay, so every year from environment we have approximately 11 to 12 questions coming, and in environment the questions are mainly linked to current affairs. Okay, environment, certain core concepts can be tackled with the help of geography as well, like there are questions on national parks and which state. Okay, then it is doable. But certain species in news, certain reports, okay, which are directly linked to current affairs, they are actually unpredictable. Same is with respect to your science and technology. Every year you have 8 to 10 questions from science and technology, and these questions are again from current affairs, and you cannot predict these questions. Okay, but do you think so we should leave this part? No, I will not suggest leave this part. This part you have to prepare with the help of your current affairs. Okay, so if in the examination 40 questions are coming from the unpredictable part, okay, and 60 questions are coming from the predictable part, so out of the 60 questions from the predictable part, you should be in a position to master, like, at least 40 questions should be correct from this part. And when I talk about this 40 part, 40 questions from the unpredictable part, at least I could say that you should be in a position to get 15 to 20 questions correct over here. Are you getting it? So that should be your strategy. And this is pretty achievable. Now, why I'm telling you 40 should be correct from this part and 20 should be correct from this part, let us come to that. Okay. Now, in prelims, we have 100 MCQs in your GS paper. So, GS paper. Okay. Prelims, I'm talking about. So, out of this 100 MCQs, your goal should be to attempt 80 to 85, depending upon the level of the paper. But ideally, this you should be in a position to attempt. Okay. Out of this, your correct should be in the range of 60. If your 60 are correct, so your score will be around 120. Okay. Then you will get certain questions as incorrect, right? So if your 20, 25 are incorrect, so there will be a negative marking. So for example, you got 20 marks, 19 to 20 marks as negative. So from 120 minus this, what will be your net score? Your net score will be around 100. That should be your goal. And why I'm telling you 60 correct? This 60 correct should be 40 from your predictable part. Okay. And your from the unpredictable part, at least manage to get 20 correct. Getting it? And this is doable. Like from environment, from science and tech. Okay. Certain questions are pretty doable. So if you solve this from mapping section, if you're very good at this, even from this, you can attempt it. Okay. So in this manner, you should target to attempt 80 to 85 questions, out of which your 60 should come correct. Okay. And then your final net score, deducting your negative marks, you will be in the zone of 100, and which is a safe zone. Always try to reach this safe zone. Okay. Now, so from January, if you are preparing for prelims, so January, February, March, be very thorough with your theoretical part, okay, of your prelims. Apart from that, you need to solve MCQs. So focus on PYQs. PYQs are very important. Plus, give as many mocks as possible. Mock tests are very crucial. So just studying will not help you. Okay. Initially, you will get, for example, you are solving a paper of any classes. Forum is there, vision is there, insights, anything. Okay. Initially, you will probably get 40 marks. Do not lose in your heart. Don't be disheartened. Try to improve it. For 40, so for example, if Now the paper contains all the subjects, right? So 100 MCQs are there. Target that, okay, there will be certain questions from polity, there will be certain questions from history, geography. I am going to focus on these subjects first, for example, and try to get maximum questions, 70 to 80% questions from these three subjects correct. Okay. So in, for example, in the first test, you are scoring just 40 marks. Not an issue. In the next test, try to ensure that you are enhancing your accuracy. Try to score at least 50, then come to 60, like that. Focus, keep targets. In test 1, I'm going to focus on these subjects. In test 2, I'm going to add one more subject. I'm going to add economics. In test 3, I'm going to add one more subject. I'm going to focus on environment as well. Like that, add subjects as well and try to reach a good score. And you should come to a stage where randomly, so by the month of April, if anyone gives you a random paper, however is the level of the paper, you should be able to get 80 plus in that paper. Because if you will score 80 plus in that mock paper, then in the final UPSC examination, somewhere you will lie in the zone of 90 to 95. Getting it? So, like that, your strategy should be there. Okay. Now, coming towards if you're preparing for from January for preliminary examination, resources. So the standard resources which everyone tells you for each and every subject, like for geography, you have NCRTs. Physical geography is very crucial. For history, we have for ancient history, we have R.S. Sharma. For medieval, Satish Chandra. For modern, we have Rajiv Ahir. For polity, Lakshmikant plus current affairs. Okay, so these are the standard books. I'm not going to go today in the sources part. I just want to highlight over here is that keep your sources minimum. Okay. See, everyone is going to read that same sources. So your sources are going to be that only. Okay. Standard sources are going to be same only. What should be your ideal strategy? Minimum sources, maximum revision. That is important. You are just reading new sources, and if you are not revising and you are not going to memorize anything, and that is not going to help you to clear the prelims. Any source which you are referring, minimum you should read that source thoroughly 3 times. So if you are reading modern Indian history book Spectrum by Rajiv Ahir, okay, so for modern India we refer Spectrum. Minimum 3 times, max to max 5 times, you should master that Spectrum plus PYQs and mock test. Okay. If you are reading geography, so for geography, we have GC Leong is there. Then we have your physical geography, NCRT, which is very important. Read that 3 times thoroughly. Thoroughly in the sense, even if I wake up you in the morning, I'm asking you a question, okay, you should be in a position to answer it. That should be the level of your memorization, okay. So 3 times minimum you have to revise each and every source, okay. So please remember this, because if you will just keep on adding too many sources, I'm telling you, it is not going to help you. From my personal experiences, I'm telling you, okay. So keep your sources minimum, maximize your revision, focus on PYQs. Okay, at least previous 10 years PYQs should be on the tip of the tongue. Okay, because the themes repeat, the statements repeat, and that will help you to fetch marks. Okay, and mocks. Why I'm telling you to focus on mocks? The reason is that however you read, see, knowledge's sources are infinite. But what will help you? If you will read and if you will start practicing MCQs, you will develop the technique of solving the MCQs and getting the correct answer. So even if you have not read something, even if you do not know the context, but you know the technique of solving the MCQ, you will be in a position to get the correct answer. Okay. I'll come to this, the techniques and all in the upcoming session. Today, just I wanted to give you the framework for the preparation. So we will just summarize it. So this is the framework for your UPSC prelims 2027. Okay. UPSC examination, UPSC exam 2027. So what should be the framework? I'll just summarize it. August till December, complete focus on your mains. In mains also, I have told you, focus on your optional paper, focus on ethics, GS 1 and 2. Why I'm not emphasizing on GS 3? Because GS 3 is a dynamic paper. Okay. So ideally, it is advised that later on in the 3 months window, focus on your GS 3. Okay. Because it's very dynamic. It is related to the current events. Okay. So later on, you can look on that subject. But till December, focus on this. From January onwards, complete prelims preparation and daily you have to study for minimum 10 to 12 hours from January onwards. Okay. So from January till March, be very thorough with the theoretical part of prelims, theory part of prelims. From March, April, complete mocks. So here your focus should be revision plus PYQs plus mock test. And in the month of May, just focus on final, whatever you have done, revise those papers. That's it. So in this manner, you will be prelims ready. Okay. So that's it for today. In the upcoming session, we will be focusing on resources. Okay. And I will be talking about even how to solve the preliminary paper. So there are different techniques. There are different rounds in which you need to attempt the prelims paper. Okay. So once you prepare, okay, simultaneously, I will be also uploading the videos on different subjects like on essay writing, on mainly my focus will be on history. So, history. So, slowly and gradually, we will talk on different techniques and different strategies as well. Okay. So, that's it for the day. Thank you so much. We'll end the session over here. And all the very best wishes from my end. If you need any guidance, if you need any assistance for your preliminary examination, you can put it into comment section. I will be happy to guide you. I will be happy to readily help you in this preparation journey. Okay. That's it for the day. Happy studying, happy learning. Hello, aspirants. In this session, we are going to explore more about UPSC essay. So we all know that when your mains examination begins, the very first paper of the UPSC Civil Services mains examination is the essay paper. And essay is very crucial because it is really a scoring subject, a scoring paper. We know that we need to write two essays in the UPSC examination, and the essay paper, like the other GS papers, is of 250 marks. So I'm going to share my sample essay, which I wrote when I gave the Vision Abhyas. Okay. So I hope the PDF is visible. So this is my essay PDF of Vision Abhyas. Okay. I'll just show the, yeah. So my name is there, Kiran Thakur, English, and I had written this essay paper in my last mains in 2025. Okay, let's come ahead. So yeah. So there were two essays like you have in the UPSC examination. Each essay is of 125 marks, as you can see over here. Essay, there are two sections, section A, section B. And the maximum marks 125, so each essay is of 125 marks. And in essay 1 I got 60 marks, and in essay 2 I got 58. So my score in vision was 180, and in my final UPSC mains examination my score in essay was 112. Okay, so coming back to this, now how you should choose an essay and what should be the preparation strategy. Now first of all, while you are preparing for the UPSC mains examination, that knowledge will help you to master the content for your essay. Okay, so you do not have to study anything separately. Whenever you are preparing for your mains examination, you are gaining that insights, you are gaining that content for your essay as well. Only thing you need to add is that more little bit anecdotes, stories, examples, okay, value addition, little bit jargonic language, not too much jargonic language. Ideally, if you're using a simple language which is readable, which is understandable, that is more than enough. What you can add, little bit, you can add quotes. Okay, inspiring stories, small stories, anecdotes, that could be a value addition. So I suggest that you can prepare a small diary or a small notebook in which you can write your, whenever you're reading any newspaper, any article, and if you feel that, oh, this quote, this saying, this example is very useful, it can help me in writing an essay on this particular topic, so you just note it down and keep on revising it. Fine. So in this manner I prepared for my essay. And one more thing which I would like to highlight is that whenever you are selecting an essay, always ensure that you are selecting two different topics. Okay, there should not be a collab, or there should not be a convergence on the two essay topics. Okay, so if one topic is from philosophy, try to select the second topic which is related to economics, or which is related to your the topics which are of a recent issue. Okay, which is in current affairs, that you can select. Okay, so always try to select a diverse topic, or the topic which is related to science and tech. So if one topic is from history or from philosophy, or you are decoding the quote, okay, then the second topic should be completely opposite. Why? So that you are giving the examiner that you are having the capability to write on two diverse topics. Okay, so you are giving that insight to an examiner. Okay, so that should be the strategy. And also, whenever you are writing any essay, ensure that the styles of writing essay in both, since you have to write two essays, so ensure that you are using two diverse styles in writing an essay. Okay, so in the first essay, if you are beginning your essay with a quote, then ensure that you are not using the same style in the second essay. In the second essay, you can begin your essay with some anecdote, or with some framework, like I'll explain you how did I write these two essays in short. Okay, so that you can get an idea. So always ensure that your styles of writing two essays are little bit different. Okay, so that the examiner also gets that yes, you have that ability to show diversity in your paper. And the most important thing, whenever you are writing an essay, you have to explore as many dimensions as possible. Okay, so try to give different dimensions: political, economic, social, cultural, technological. Diverse dimensions are very important while you are writing an essay. Okay, so today I'm just going to give you an idea of how to write an essay, so that at least you can begin the practice of writing an essay. And in the upcoming sessions, I will be discussing the actual strategy. Okay, how to master that technique of writing an ideal essay. So nothing is ideal in the UPSC examination, because how do they check the papers and how do they give the marks is definitely it is not transparent, as we all know that. But definitely from the toppers, from the veterans who have already cleared this examination, from their scores, from their strategy, we can definitely learn. Okay, so when I talk about the essay which I wrote, so you can see where there is a section A. There are four topics in section A. So out of that four topics, I selected the last one: only in the depths of winter can we truly appreciate the warmth of spring. Okay, so I will repeat the topic: only in the depths of winter we can surely appreciate the warmth of spring. Okay, so basically it tries to tell us that if you are facing hurdles in your life, if your life is a roller coaster up and down, then you will learn the lessons from those ups and downs, and you will enjoy the fruits in the later part of your life. Okay, so even if you are facing challenges, even if you are facing hurdles in your life, you will reap its benefits later on during the good time. Okay, so that is the basic one line gist of the topic. Okay, so for every essay, first of all, you will get 10 to 12 pages for one essay. Okay, you will get 10 to 12 pages, and you are supposed to write this essay in 1000 to 1200 words. Okay, so like this, this is the ideal sheet of writing an essay. Can you see over here? I'll just get a little bit up. Yeah, so you have two margins over here, and you are getting the white space. So first of all, whenever you are attempting whichever essay, try to mention it very clearly. Okay, so can you see over here, I have selected the topic number 4. So I've written over here topic number 4, and I have clearly written this topic in the bold letters, okay, in the capital letters. So I have mentioned my topic: only in the depths of winter can we truly appreciate the warmth of spring. So you need to clearly mention your essay topic. This is very important. Okay, after mentioning your essay topic, you have to begin with the introductory part. Okay, and always try to incorporate paragraphs in your essay. So first, the very first part is the introductory part, where you are introducing the topic to the examiner, and that is very crucial. Okay, the first introductory part is very important, because in that introduction you are depicting to the examiner that you have really understood the topic of the essay. Okay, so in this particular essay, I introduced this topic to the examiner with the help of an anecdote. Okay, I any of discrimination. So what I'm trying to tell that he had to go a lot of suffering in his life. Okay, but he never gave up. Against all odds, what he did, he educated himself, led a long battle against untouchability, spearheaded important satyagrahas, like I've mentioned about the Mahar Satyagraha, Kalaram Temple Satyagraha. He led movements for depressed classes, okay? And finally, he emerged as the greatest emancipator of depressed classes. And he became the chief architect of our constitution. So basically, I gave a framework and then I mentioned his name. He's Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar. So directly, I did not reveal his name. I gave a background that he was born in a such a caste, he faced poverty, untouchability. Then slowly and gradually, from all these ups and downs, he did not give up. He emerged as a better individual, not only for himself but for the society. Okay, he launched different satyagrahas, emerged as an emancipator of depressed classes, and not only this, he became the chief architect of our constitution. And then I revealed his name, Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar. Okay, so in this manner, I gave his journey and I explained his journey further. So, his journey of hardships enabled him to empathize with the fellow community men, okay, embarked on the journey of social justice, and the fruits of the harvest emerged as our constitution abolished. So, whatever hard work he did, he got the fruit. What fruit he got? That our constitution of which he was the chief architect. Okay, in that term, in our very constitution, untouchability was abolished. Okay, under Article number 17. So that I've mentioned that whatever hardships he underwent, he led satyagraha, everything. Finally, he got the fruits of the harvest, and that emerged as our constitution abolished untouchability, imparted equality, prohibited discrimination. Moreover, his efforts led to affirmative reservation and thus empowering thousands of depressed classes. So, finally, I have explained the topic of the essay. Thus, Ambedkar's life path sets a precedent that hard times. Okay, so if you know the essay ka first line, the wrath of winter, so that I'm highlighting over here, that sets a precedent that hard times can yield glorious outcome, that you can reap the benefits in the month of the spring. Okay, can yield glorious outcome if dealt with patience and responsibly, enabling us to appreciate the warmth of spring. Okay, so basically, with the help of the anecdote life story of Ambedkar, I tried to connect it with the essay topic and I explained the essay topic. So, in the first introductory paragraph, it is your duty, through any example, through any story, through any quote, you have to first explain the topic of the essay. So, that is an ideal strategy. Okay. Then, the second important thing, what I did, then I gave a framework what I'm going to explore in this essay. So, can you see over here? I have mentioned over here in this essay. So the first para is the introductory para, where I introduced my essay topic with the help of an anecdote. In the second para, I'm going to mention what I'm going to explore in this essay. So in this essay, we are going to explore what? How harshness of winter helps us to sail through the ups and downs of life and reap the benefits in spring, which is the basic tagline of the essay that I have mentioned. So we are going to explore this with different examples and different dimensions. Further, we will also understand how these hardships can be can be challenging to deal with, often leading to disastrous outcomes. Okay, now sometimes it shows that if these hardships are not channelized in a proper manner, it could lead to disastrous aspects also. So repetitively, if you are facing too much of discrimination, too much of hardships in your life, sometimes what happens, we give up and the result could be disastrous. You know that suicides are increasing in our country. Why? Because youth are not able to cope up with this hardship. So that I'm trying to mention over here, if you are not able to channelize this hardships like Ambedkar did, he suffered so much discrimination from the very birth. Getting it? So he suffered so much, but he was able to channelize these hardships, and out of these hardships, he try to extract something good. So that I wanted to mention over here, that further we will also understand that how these hardships can be channelized to deal with. If they are not channelized in a proper manner, they can lead to disastrous outcomes. Okay, and then we will explore the ways to deal with these challenges in order to lead a glorious life. Okay, so my essay tries to explore three important dimensions. First of all, we are going to understand that how these ups and downs can help us to reap the benefits in the times of spring. Second important thing, what happens if you are not able to channelize this ups and downs? That, and finally, how we can actually deal with this hardships in order to lead a good life. So these are the three important aspects which my essay wanted to explore upon. Okay, now actually I had written this essay, now it has been a year long. Okay, so again recollecting it, fine, a disastrous thing for me itself. Let us move ahead. Fine. So now the first part is done, the exploring part is done. Now you are going to begin with the actual essay paragraphs. Okay, so every paragraph should begin with some uh, statement. Okay, the statement is said to be an argument. Okay, so you should actually give an argument for each and every paragraph. Okay, so the first argument, what I've mentioned over here, harshness of life is the way to resilience. Okay, so basically this is my first argument. What I'm telling you, that in life harshness will come, but that harshness will make you resilient. Resilient means what? Will impart strength in you. Okay, so further I'm explaining this argument. Sometimes troubles are appreciated. Why troubles are appreciated? Because they will make you more prepared to face the challenges of life. Okay, and then I have given the example. So I am supporting my argument. What is my first argument? My first argument is that harshness is the way to resilience. So even if in your life there are too many ups and downs, too many hardships, but that will make you more and more resilient. And I am trying to explain this argument with the help of example. So I have given the example of Mahatma Gandhi. Like Mahatma Gandhi, he was thrown out of the train in South Africa, but he did not give up. He became more and more resilient. And rather, that one hardship, that one harshness made him so resilient that he not only fought for the rights of the people in South Africa, but even he led the Indian freedom struggle. Okay. So he led a long battle to end the discriminatory practices, and his experiences in South Africa made him so resilient, so empowered, that he led the freedom struggle in India and helped us in gaining freedom. Getting it? So that is one example I have given. Second example I have given from the life of Abdul Kalam. Okay. So let us understand this. So I have mentioned over here Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. Okay. He was born in a poor family, but that poverty was a harshness of his life, made him resilient, that he faced all challenges with great wisdom, and ultimately he emerged as one of the founding fathers of uh, India's journey in the field of science and technology. And he became missile man of India. He became people's president. Okay, so what does it shows? That harshnesses come in life, but you have to tackle it with resilience, and hence out of that good outcome will definitely come. Okay, so the second example is of Abdul Kalam. He became people's president. I've mentioned over here. Fine. So that was the first argument. Second argument which I gave was that, so every argument you are giving, try to support that argument with examples. So second argument I have given, harshness of life is the ultimate path of becoming humane. First argument, I have given that harshness makes you resilient, strong. Second, I have given that harshness is the ultimate path of becoming humane. Okay. So, how I'm justifying it? I am justifying it. So, like that, troubles help us to see the life through lens of sufferers and grounds us. Okay. So, if more and more trouble come in your life, you try to become more and more a person with empathy. Okay. So I've given the example of Sudha Murthy. Sudha Murthy, she was not allowed to pursue a job in telco just because she was a female. So she understood this. That trouble came in her life, that since she was a female, gender biasness was there and she was not allowed to pursue a job in telco. So, since she suffered from that hardships, she understood that yes, there is a gender biasness in our country. Later on, when she became the co-founder of Infosys, and now she's a great philanthropist. She ensured that. Okay, she learned from this, and she has now opened so many schools for girls. Okay, so she learned from the harshness, she empathized with it, and she has taken a right decision. Getting it? Second thing, I have mentioned the example of even Nelson Mandela. So, Nelson Mandela, he became the first president of South Africa. He spent 27 years of his life in prison. Okay, but after becoming the first president of South Africa, he did not punish the wrongdoers. Okay, so in South Africa, as we all know, there was an apartheid system. Okay, he fought against that apartheid system. Okay, 27 years he spent in prison. But after coming out of this prison, after becoming the first president of South Africa, he did not punish the wrongdoers. What he did, he forgave them. So what does it shows? He went through immense hardships, but he learned from these hardships, and in this process, he became a more humane personality. So hardships actually, from human, he became humane. So it is a journey of becoming humane from human. Okay. So just being a human being is not enough. You need to be a humane. Humane means where you are empathizing yourself with the other co-associates. Okay. So he showed to the world the power of kindness and love for humanity. So thus the journey of hardships shape our life trajectory. We become so humane that we wish even our enemies should not undergo that pain. Okay, that suffering. Fine. So this is my second argument which I have presented over here. Okay. Then the third argument which I presented over here is that harshness of life makes our life worth living. So these arguments are with the main highlight of the essay. If you look at all these arguments, in each of these arguments, what I'm trying to explain, I'm trying to explain that harshness is there in life, hardships are there in life, ups and downs are there in life, but ultimately you suffer, you become more and more better person, and ultimately something good is happening. So through all these examples, through all these arguments, we are trying to hit that main core idea of the essay. Always remember that whatever you are writing, you should always look at the title of the essay and try to ensure that you are not diverging from the essay. You should always hit to the main goal of the essay. Okay. So even here, harshness of the essay makes our life worth living. So basically, here also you are trying to put that same argument that whatever harshness you are facing in the month of winter, that is, it is just a symbolic gesture. You will ultimately reap the benefits in spring. So here also we are saying that only whatever harshness you are suffering in your life, ultimately your life will become worth living. You will reap the benefits. Okay. So the immense pain and suffering finally yields the sweet fruits and bountiful harvest, making our life cheerful. So again, I have given the example of Gautam Buddha. Gautam Buddha, whose quest for truth made him undergo immense pain and hardship, penance, fasting, but ultimately his enlightenment led to being he being called as Tathagat, he being called as Buddha. So that hardships made him to undergo the path of enlightenment, and that gave to the rise of a new religion, Buddhism, which showed the path of ending the suffering. So Buddha's wisdom guides humanity on the difficult times of war. So today also his wisdom is very much helpful, which helps us to endure in order to get rid of the difficulties like in the times of violence, wars, and shows the path of harmonious living. Okay. Again, I've taken, so this is the first example of Buddha. Okay. So literally, whatever hardships he underwent, the positive outcome came that he became enlightened. He became Buddha, the enlightened one. He became Tathagat, the seeker of truth. Okay. And finally, he showed the world the path of the middle path, the golden path of achieving peace, prosperity. Okay. So his life is literally a worth living life. From this, we understand. The second example I've given, the example of Sachin Tendulkar. Sachin Tendulkar, he literally for 55 days, he played more than 500 matches in lifetime and emerged as the legend of cricket. Okay. So pondering in the life of, so second example I've given of Sachin Tendulkar. So can you understand? I'm giving the diverse examples. Some examples are from the philanthropist. Some examples are from the sports. Some are from history. Okay, so you need to give the examples also which are very diverse. Okay, so next example, I've given the example of Barack Obama, the first black president of USA. So his journey from troubles to the symbol of black power. Okay, even that is that shows that these troubles literally make your life worth living. Okay, so ultimately you should enjoy the process and you should make something fruitful out of this. Okay, so I've given the three arguments and I have tried to justify the main topic of the essay. Now I'm pondering on my second aspect of my main thing, that I want to highlight that everyone cannot sail through these hardships in a successful manner, because see, everyone cannot take these challenges in a positive manner. Some people are weak hearted, some people are not that much mentally strong in order to suffer the hardships, and as a result, they give up. Okay. So, however, not everyone can sail through hardships and can live a successful life. Okay. And then I have mentioned the challenges. Rising suicides are there, challenges of mental health, rising depression in women, marginalized communities. Okay. Especially the growing competition. Are making the life of the students with full of pressure. AI and automation is challenging the job security, leading to massive layoffs. Okay, I've given the examples also, the recent layoffs by Microsoft, TCS. Okay, the global conflicts I've mentioned, Russia Ukraine war, Israel Iran war, onset of terrorism. I've mentioned about the Pahalgam attack. Okay, are impeding the citizens from living freely with the increasing geopolitical complexes, the challenges of national security, sovereignty are rising. All these hardships appear as obstacles in living a fruitful life. Okay, so I've written a one paragraph on this. Okay, some with courage move ahead, but some others, okay, succumb to it. They basically they cannot handle this pressure. Okay, and let us ponder what can be done to overcome these challenges. Okay, so we are giving a solution also. We are not just leaving that challenges make you weak. We are also trying to address how we can tackle these challenges. Okay, so first of all, there is a need for education system that help us build our mental capabilities to tackle these challenges. Okay, so education like meditation, yoga can build your resilience. Okay, secular environments at schools and colleges, societies can build community bonding and all that I have mentioned over here. Okay, more importantly, I've mentioned about the democratic parenting approach, which is very important to shape the future of an individual, to imbibe positive attitude towards life. Okay, emphasis of love and affection, especially during the initial years of childcare, play a very important role in shaping the individuals. Okay, so there is also a need for senior citizens, successful men to come ahead, share their life experiences and journeys. Okay, then NGOs, civil society can contribute, such as the Seva organization, empowering the marginalized women, made them self-resilient, capable to rise above hardships. Okay, Amul empowered millions of farmers, made them self-sufficient. Other, see why these examples are relevant, because see, in India, the dairy farmers, okay, the basic farmers, they used to suffer so much of hardships. Okay, we often used to hear the cases of suicides. Even today, it is there. But Amul, it literally gave empowerment to so many farmers. It gave additional income to so many farmers. Okay, so that is an example that yes, challenges were there, but if people come ahead, support each other. Literally, we can learn from these challenges and we can come out. Okay, so this support, helping in the times of difficulties, is essential in order to imbibe confidence so that people can overcome. Okay, so the challenges, even our country went through immense financial crisis in 1990s, but international monetary funds, financial support, and the vision of our leaders helped our country to come out of that crisis. And today, India is one of the fastest growing economies in the world. So, see, we are giving examples also from the diverse fields. Okay. So, finally, I've written over here that because life is worth living, a lifetime of opportunities, it all depends upon our will of act. Okay. So I've mentioned about a former Tanzanian marathoner, Mr. Aquari. Okay. So while he was in the race, he fell down. Okay. He fell down, and but still he got up and he completed the race. And he was the last one to complete the race. And hardly anyone was sitting in the stadium. Okay. A journalist interviewed him that what was the point if you were going to lose the race? Then what was the point in continuing that race? So his reply was that my country did not send me 5,000 miles to start the race, but to finish it. So this shows what? You know that you are not going to win it, but the courage, the willpower to complete the act and rising above all odds is a very important thing. So that I wanted to highlight over here. Okay. So you have to give different examples. Okay. And finally, I concluded. So the final dimension, the final aspect of the essay is you have to conclude. And always remember, conclude on a positive note. Try to give positive solution. So hence we conclude challenges will come. See, if you have taken birth, challenges are bound to come because this is the reality. This is the fact of the nature. So challenges are bound to come in everyone's life. Okay. But it is how you proceed ahead with these challenges. So to turn it into opportunities and reap the benefits, it's ultimately in our hands. Okay. And then I have written a poem that trouble comes as it comes to us all. We feel so helpless, lost, and small. We give up in despair and find happiness nowhere. But behind the cloud, the sun is shining. For every cloud, there is a silver lining. Okay. So also it is, so I've mentioned that trouble will come in everyone's life, but behind the cloud, there is a silver lining. So that I have ended. So, and finally, one more poem I have written over here. The glory of life is not to gain, but to ease someone's pain. A kind word sown, a burden shared, a little deed that showed we cared. Live not loud, but live in grace. Let love spread everywhere. So basically, I wanted to highlight over here that help each other so that you can make everyone's life meaningful. Okay. So in this way, you need to attempt an essay. And now you will say you have added so many examples, so many poems, and so many quotes. So definitely, I prepared thoroughly, and then I went to the center and I wrote that essay. Okay, and thoroughly in the sense, I had maintained my book. In that book, I used to write all the examples from the different fields, from the politics, from the economics, from the science and technology. So, like that, you have to write too many examples, too many quotes. Prepare small anecdotes, poems. Okay. So throughout the year, this is not going to happen in one day. You will write such a good essay. Nothing. So for this essay, I got 60 marks. Okay, out of 125, and it's a decent score because we know that in UPSC, the maximum marks is 50%. Okay. So out of 125, I got 60 in this essay. Okay. First essay. Second essay we'll be discussing in the next section. Okay. So for today's session, I wanted to discuss my first essay, and I hope and I did not go into much details, and even I was not able to recollect it honestly speaking it because I wrote this 1 year earlier. The intent to introduce this, I just wanted to help the beginners because see, beginners do not know how to proceed ahead. First of all, start attempting. That is the thing I would like to tell you. And from my essay, at least you will get an idea what how the essay paper looks. Okay, how the margins are there, how many pages are there. Okay, so you have 10 pages, and at least you will get an idea. You need to write in paragraphs. Okay, you need to introduce your essay. Introduction could be through anecdote, through an example, through a quote. Okay. Then you need to write one para about what you are going to explore in this essay. So in this essay, we are going to see all these things. Okay. That you are going to do. And then the main arguments. Okay. So you have to present at least two to three arguments, support these arguments with example. Okay. Uh, and try to ensure that there is a fluidity in your essay. There's a flow. The examiner should not be bored by reading your essay. Okay. And then you need to conclude it. And also, now when you are writing the essay, do not directly start writing it. You have to first do the rough paperwork. Okay. So at the end, you have to do the rough work. You have to design the entire skeleton of your essay, and then you are going to write an essay. So I will be taking a special masterclass on this entire framework, how you need to prepare the skeleton of the essay, how you are going to put the dimensions in that skeleton, that I'll be explaining. But first thing, I just wanted to tell today how to begin essay writing. At least start writing an essay. Okay, you can pick up any PYQ topic, start writing an essay, and later on, I'll share what is the way to make this skeleton. Why I'm going to share it later on? Because by that time you will have enough content. Now if I will tell you that this is the way you need to prepare skeleton and you have to add examples, so you will be in a position, I do not have that much content, because now you are just starting your preparation if you're aiming for 2027, correct? So now just take a basic topic, whatever you know, start writing. Something is better than nothing. So start writing. That is the most important thing. Okay. So start attempting the essays, and later on, when you will have enough content, in maybe next month, 1 or 2 months, I will share the exact way how to make the framework for the essay. Okay. That's it for the day. Thank you so much. You can put it into comment section, your opinion on this session. Okay. On this essay. That's it for the day. Thank you. We'll end the session over here. Hello, aspirants. Let us begin with the very first session of our history series. So, the today's topic is the very first topic of our history syllabus, that is prehistoric age. All right. So, let us try to understand the basics of this prehistoric India or the prehistoric age. Now, when I talk about the prehistoric age, it refers to the longest phase of the human history. It is a period during which actually man evolved. So, we all know that earlier there used to be apes. So slowly and gradually, apes evolved into Homo habilis. First of all, there were Homo erectus, then Homo habilis, then Homo sapiens sapiens, right? So in this manner, during this period, man underwent an evolution. Fine. So this is considered to be the longest phase of human history. And this age began from around 2 million years ago. So 2 million years ago, the present. Okay. And it continued to up to 3300 BCE. Now, BC refers to before Christ and BCE refers to before Common Era. We'll be understanding these terminologies in the later part, all right? Now, this period, it's a very big period, and humanity witnessed a great transformation. So earlier, apes were there, then Homo erectus, Homo habilis. Earlier, man was a hunter-gatherer, right? He was basically using stone tools. He was dependent on nature. So during this period, he evolved. He evolved into Homo sapiens sapiens, a wise man. And that led to, slowly and gradually, to the settlement of the man and the evolution of the modern man. So this period is a biggest period of man's history. When I talk about this evolution of man, it's not an overnight change. All right. So this evolution took lakhs and lakhs of years. So this shift was a very gradual, fine. So from hunting and gathering, slowly and gradually, man shifted towards food production, from mobility to settlement, from stone tools, he shifted towards the use of metals. So this did not happen overnight. Fine. So understanding this prehistoric India is very crucial, because this will give you the foundation of the evolution of you and me, that is the evolution of a mankind. Okay, you will come to know how the cultures evolved, how the technology progressed, and how this laid the social foundation upon which the later civilizations of India, like the Harappan civilization, were built. Okay, so we're going to understand this in detail. First of all, let us try to understand certain basics. So, when I talk about our country, India, what is that one landmark after which our country got a name? So, that landmark, that defining feature is the river Indus. All right. So, this river Indus, in the ancient time, it was known as the Sindhu River, the mighty Sindhu River with its beautiful tributaries, right? So Sindhu was considered to be a landmark, an identity for India and the Indian subcontinent. So the travelers, those who came to India, they referred to this land as the land of River Sindhu. And from that River Sindhu, slowly and gradually, we got the name Indu. Indu became Indus. And from Indus, we got the words like Hindu, Hidu, right? So let us try to understand this evolution of the name India. Okay, so the ancient Persian inscriptions, they refer to this land and the people staying over here as Hindu. So are you getting it? From Sindhu, the word got Hindu, Hindu, Hidu. So they used to call the people staying in this area as Hindus. Fine. So Hindu is basically not attributed to any particular religion. Hindu were considered to be the inhabitants of the land where the river Indus flow. All right. And Greek texts. So before Persian texts, there existed the Greek texts. Greek texts mentioned to this land where river Indus flowed as India. Fine. So are you getting it? So Sindhu became Indu, Indus. Greeks used to refer it as Indus. And from Indus, our very country got the name India. And Greeks texts were the earliest texts who referred to this land as India. India, the land where the mighty river Indus flowed. Okay. The Persian texts, Persian inscriptions, they refer to the people of this land as Hindu or Hidu. Fine. Now, the later Arabic texts, so later Arabic and the Persian texts, they began to refer this entire land where the Hindus resided as Hindustan. Hindustan, a place where Hindus lived. Okay, Stan means what? Hindustan means a place where Hindus lived. Okay, and in the Chinese sources, we refer to the name as Shentu. All right, so how beautiful this journey is, right? From one river, Sindhu, the name got corroborated as Indu, then Indus, and from Indus, we got the very name of our country, India. All right, so please do remember this. Greek texts refer to this land as India. Persian inscriptions refer to the people staying over here as Hindu or Hidu. And Arabic and the later Persian texts refer to this land as Hindustan. All right, mine's and yours and all of us beloved Hindustan. And Greek sources refer to this as Shentu. Okay. So I hope now it's very pretty clear to all of us how our country's name is called with the name of Indus River. And Indus River is a very important aspect of Indian history, Indian geography. All right. Because this river supported the first urban civilization of entire South Asia, and that is the Indus Valley civilization, right? Sindhu Ghati Sabhyata, as it is referred to as. Fine. So let's move ahead. Now, when I talk about classification of Indian history, now this is a very interesting aspect, how history has to be classified. Okay. So now, actually, this task of classification of Indian history began during the British rule. So, when Britishers came to India, they settled over here. They began to do research, all right? And then there was a scholar, James Mill, also referred to as J.S. Mill. So, J.S. Mill was the earliest person who took the initiative to classify Indian history, all right? So, in 1817, he published his work. Just a second, I'll close this. Yeah. So in 1817, he published his work, History of British India. And in that work, he classified Indian history. So how did he classify Indian history? Okay. He classified Indian history on the basis of a religion. Religion in the sense, he referred to the earliest period of Indian history to up to 8th century AD as the Hindu period. Then the medieval history, that is from 8th century AD to 18th century AD, as the Muslim period. And the later period, from the onset of the British colonial masters, he referred to this period as the British period. Now, this periodization or this classification of Indian history was on the basis of religion. And do you think that this is an appropriate way to classify history? Because if you talk about the ancient history, from the basic knowledge, we all know that this was not a dominant period to call it as a Hindu period, right? Because just now we saw that Hindu, first of all, does not refer to any religion. Hindu refers to the people who lived in the land where Indus River flowed, right? And not only Hinduism, we know that in the ancient Indian times, two important religions flourished in India, Jainism and Buddhism. And majority of the Indian kings, rather I could say most of them, all of them, you could say that they were secular in their approach. They never imposed their identity, their religious beliefs on their subjects. So, this period, to call it specifically as a Hindu period, is wrong from the perspective of a rational studies, right? So, this was not acceptable to nationalist Indian historians. The second period, Muslim period. All right, we understand that Delhi Sultanate ruled for approximately 300 years. Then the Muslim rulers ruled for a couple of years, right? But that does not mean that everyone was following Islam. Hinduism coexisted, Jainism, Buddhism coexisted. So we cannot claim that one particular period is a Muslim period just because the rulers were Muslims. Again, this is not acceptable. And the final period is the British period because they ruled over India. That's fine. But then these two periods, this periodization was not acceptable. All right. So Indian historians, nationalist historians, they rejected this classification and they said that there is overemphasis on religion and this is not a rational way of studying history. And as a result, a more neutral classification was accepted for studying Indian history. So, this classification is the most neutral one, the most accepted one. And today we follow this classification in studying Indian history. Okay. So, what is this classification? Let us try to understand. So, we classify the Indian history broadly into three periods: ancient, medieval, and modern. Okay. Now, let's begin with the ancient period. So, ancient period begins from the very past, that is from the prehistoric age. So, you can consider it to be the timeline like 2 million years ago, because from that point onwards, the prehistoric age began. And this ancient history continued up to 750 AD. So I hope we all know about this timeline. I'll just explain this once so that it will become very clear to you all. So see, whenever we are considering the timeline in history, we are coming from the ancient times like this, and then we are approaching towards. So this is AD, okay, first century AD. AD refers to what? Anno Domini. Anno Domini means in the year of Lord Jesus Christ. So this is considered to be the period when Jesus Christ existed in Europe. Okay, so that is this period, first century AD. Now, when I talk about this period before AD, what is there? BC, or it is all AD is also called as CE. CE means common era. All right. So CE or AD are one and the same. So if you are referring to CE, common era, if you are referring to AD, Anno Domini, AD means it's a Latin word, Anno Domini. It means in the year of Lord Jesus Christ. So it is considered that from year onwards, Lord Jesus Christ existed. All right. So before that, we consider it as BC. The BC means what? Before Christ. Getting it? So this is before Christ, and we also refer to a word BCE, before common era. Okay, because this is CE, common era. So before that, what will be there? BCE, before common era. And BC refers to what? Before Christ. So you can use this terminologies alternatively. You can either use BC or you can use BCE, one and the same. And for AD, you can also use CE. Fine. So when I talk about the ancient period, we are referring to this period, BC. And this is slowly and gradually declining. Okay. So you can see over here 2 million years ago, then 1 lakh years ago, then 3000 BC, then 1000 BC, 200 BC, 100 BC, 50 BC. Like that, we are coming to zero. And then 1 century AD. Now from here, the timeline will increase. 1 century AD, 2 AD, okay, 300 AD, 1000 AD, and today we are in 2026 AD. Okay, so in this way, the timeline works. I hope it is pretty clear. Okay, now let's focus on the classification of Indian history. So, first of all, we have an ancient India. Ancient India, it begins from approximately 2 million years ago. Million years ago, MYA. Okay, million years ago. to up to, so we are covering entire BC. So your entire BC will be covered, and slowly and gradually we are coming to where? AD. And which AD? The ancient history will end 750 AD. Getting it? Now let us move towards the medieval history. Now, medieval history, for our convenience, for our ease, for better understanding, we divide it into two parts: early medieval history and later medieval history. Okay? Early medieval history, it begins from 750 AD to 1200 AD. And your later medieval history begins from 1200 AD to 1750 AD. Okay, so this entire is your medieval history. So if you talk about entire medieval history, it begins from where? 750 AD. And it ends up to 1750 AD. But for our ease, for our better understanding, we classify into two parts: early medieval and later medieval. Okay. And then modern India. Modern India, it begins from the onset of the Europeans. Okay. So to be precise, from the onset of the Britishers. All right. So it is from 750 AD onwards, we considered it to be modern Indian history. Okay. Obviously, the Britishers came earlier, but earlier they came to India from the perspective of doing trade. Slowly and gradually, they became the rulers. All right. The first battle is the Battle of Plassey, 1757. Very important one. Okay. So today we are in the modern Indian history. Fine. So in this way, the Indian history is classified. And you need to follow this because this is a standard classification, and we will be studying history in this format only. So first we'll be covering the ancient Indian history. We'll be ending the Indian history at 750 AD. Then we'll begin with the medieval Indian history. Medieval, we'll be dividing it into two parts. First, we'll be studying the early medieval. Then we'll be studying the later medieval. And then we'll move towards the modern Indian history. Okay. So please remember this timeline. Now, this timeline is more neutral, right? Because here we are not keeping any bias, right? Because religious aspect is not there. So this is more inclusive, more balanced view towards studying history. And this basically recognizes cultural continuity and really regional diversity. Okay, so basically it's a cultural continuity from ancient history. Man is progressing towards medieval, and then we are coming towards the modern one. And this is very much objective and rational approach without any bias. So this is the modern approach, a neutral approach towards understanding history. And please remember this timeline. All right, let's move ahead. Now we are going to understand the stages in the evolution of history writing. Okay, so from past to present, how did history writing evolve? Now, when I say the word history, history means what? Let us break down this. History. History means history, right? It literally means his. Where is my pen? Yeah, just a second. Yeah. So history means what? His story. Whose story? It's the story of a mankind, all right? Story of our ancestors, story of our great grandfathers, all right? So it's his story. It's a story of a mankind. Now, whenever we are studying history, it is classified again into three aspects. So first of all, we will understand the word prehistory. So prehistory, it is that part of history where the writing system did not exist yet. Okay. So it is a history where writing, that is the script, was not yet invented. So, for example, our prehistoric age, our Stone Ages, during a Stone Age period, script was not there, right? So, what's the primary source, or what is the primary source to study about the prehistoric age in India? So, archaeology is the most important source to study about the prehistoric age in India. Archaeology, in the sense, like in the prehistoric age, man basically used stone tools. So, we refer to it as Stone Age as well, right? The Paleolithic age, the Mesolithic age, the Neolithic age. So, it is a Stone Age. So, all the stone tools, the burials, the remains, the fossils, right? The paintings, these are the material remains, archaeological sources that help us to study about the prehistory. So please remember, prehistory, it is that part of history when the writing system, the script, was not yet invented. All right. So it is a period where it was a stone age. Man was primarily using stone tools. He was living in association with the nature in the rock shelters, and his remains, that is the pottery, the fossil remains, are the primary source to understand the life of the man in the prehistoric age. Okay, so archaeology is the primary source to reconstruct the history, the culture of that time. So I hope it is pretty clear. What do you mean by prehistory? Once again, prehistory, it refers to all the events before the invention of writing. So if prehistory is the history before writing, so what do you mean by history? History means the study of the past after the writing, the script was invented, correct? So let us come to the third point. Study of the past after writing was invented, that is your history. So here we have two sources to study this part. Which are the two sources? First of all, the written sources, literary sources. Okay, the written sources are the first sources plus archaeological sources. So this part could be studied in a more better manner, because if you have any issues with the written system, you have archaeology to verify whether the written facts are correct or not. All right. So this is a very important aspect. Written plus archaeology helps us in a better understanding of history. So history, it is that part of a past when the written system was invented. Okay. So please remember, the key features of history are: written records are available, inscriptions are there, manuscripts are there, official records are there. Okay. And apart from that, archaeological evidences help us corroborate, that is, help us to complement this written evidences. So you can compare both of them and you can come to a better conclusion with respect to this part. All right. So I hope these two are clear: prehistory and history. Now, there is one more term which is very significant with respect to India, and that is proto-history. Now, proto-history, it's basically that part of history where we have a written script. So there is a written script, but the issue is that the script is not yet decoded. We are not able to understand what it is written in that script. I hope you might have guessed it. I'm referring to which civilization. Okay, we are referring to our very famous Indus Valley civilization. Okay, so Indus Valley civilization is a peculiar example of proto history. So Indus Valley civilization was the first urban civilization of India, not only India but entire South Asia. Okay, they were literate. It was a literate civilization. They had their own script, which is the Harappan script. But the issue is that archaeologists have not yet deciphered this Indus script. Now, oftenly you see in newspapers, people claim that yes, we have deciphered the Indus script, but until and unless it is not officially published by the Archaeological Survey of India, we won't be accepting it. Okay, so if in the UPSC examination, if it is the statement is given that Harappan script is decoded, until and unless there is no official statement from the government of India, from the Archaeological Survey of India, from the Ministry of Culture, we should not accept anything as the truth. The information has to be published in PIB, Press Information Bureau. Then and then only it will be considered to be the valid one. All right. So once again, coming back to this proto history. So I'm talking about the Harappan script. Harappans were the literate people, very civilized, urban people, had their own system of writing. But the issue is that you and me are not able to understand the Harappan script. So this is the problem with the Harappan civilization. Though they were literate, though the script exists, we are not able to use it to understand the history of that period. So what is the source to study about the Harappan civilization? Again, archaeology is the primary source to study about Harappan civilization. Apart from that, now see, Harappans were in contact with the people of other civilizations. So contemporary of the Harappans were Mesopotamians. Okay, Harappans used to do trade with the Mesopotamian civilization, and in the Mesopotamian texts, they have written about the Harappan civilization. So again, that is the source to study Harappa. So what are the sources to study Harappa? First of all, archaeological sources. Second thing, the return mentions the inscriptions from the other civilizations. Example, Mesopotamian civilization. Okay, so that is again the source to know about the Harappan civilization. So hence, Harappa is a unique example, and hence Harappa is classified as proto-history. I hope now the three classifications are pretty clear. Prehistory, it is that part of history for which the written system did not exist. So what was the primary source to study prehistory? Archaeology. Fine. History. History is the study of the past after the writing system was invented. And here you have two important sources. That is the literary, and second one, archaeology. And if you are confused with any one source, you can complement it with the other one. Okay. And proto history is the unique period, and mainly it is referred to the Harappan civilization. It is that period where the written system existed. But the issue is that the script is not yet deciphered. All right. And we do find the mentions of that particular civilization in the other contemporary writings. So if you take the example of Harappan civilization, we find the mention of Harappa in the writings of Mesopotamia. Mesopotamia. All right. So this is all about the stages of the evolution of history. That's it for today. From the next session onwards, that is in the upcoming session, I'll be discussing about the Indian Stone Age in detail. So we are going to understand about the Paleolithic age, the Mesolithic age, and the Neolithic age. Okay. I don't want the lectures to be too lengthy. It will be a short lecture so that you won't get bored. Okay. And feel free to give your views. If you have any doubt, you can write in the comment section. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you for the day. I'll be uploading the next video shortly. Thank you. Aspirants, let us continue with our history series. Okay. So, in the previous session, we had started with the topic prehistoric India. We understood about the nomenclature of our country. We understood about the periodization of Indian history, right? The classification of Indian history. And further, we understood the terminologies like prehistory, history, and proto history. Today, we are going to understand the classification of Indian Stone Age, and further, we are going to focus on Paleolithic Age. Okay, so let's begin with this session. So, when I talk about the classification of Indian Stone Age, so Indian Stone Age is classified into three important periods. Okay, so the very first one is known as the Paleolithic Age. Now, when I say Paleolithic, it is a Latin word. Paleo means old, lithic means stone, and hence it is referred to as Stone Age. Now, first of all, why do we call it as a Stone Age? Because stone tools dominated throughout this period, and hence it is referred to as a Stone Age. Getting it? So, the characteristic feature of the Stone Ages are the use of stone tools. And when I refer to Paleolithic age, Paleolithic, we are referring to the earliest part of the Stone Age, or we are referring to as the Old Stone Age. Then, when I come to the Mesolithic era, Meso means middle, lithic means stone. So, we are referring to Middle Stone Age. And finally, we are coming towards the later part of the Stone Age, that is the Neolithic age. When I say neo refers to what? New. Lithic means age. Stone Age. So, hence, we are referring to New Stone Age. Okay. When I talk about the time periods, okay, now these time periods are the approximate ones. Okay. So, let us discuss the time period. So, the very first age, that is the Paleolithic age. Now, this is the longest period, and this spanned from around 2 million 2 million BCE. Now, we all know what is BCE, before Common Era. It is also referred to as BC, before Christ. Okay, one and the same only. So, 2 million years ago, from that point of time to up to 10,000 BCE, is considered to be the Old Stone Age or the Paleolithic Age. Okay, then from 10,000 BCE to up to 6,000 BCE, okay, this is referred to as the Mesolithic era in Middle Stone Age, a short span, okay. And then when we come towards the Neolithic age, it begins from around 6,000 BCE and it continues up to, now see, the issue with the Neolithic age is that in the different parts of the different of the Indian continent, the dates vary. Okay, so when I talk about the northeast part of India, or when I talk about the eastern part of India, this Neolithic age began from around 6,000 BCE, but it continued to up to 1,000 BCE, or in some other part, it continued to up to 2,000 BCE. So when I talk about the Neolithic age, the dates for the Indian subcontinent are not uniform. Okay, but broadly, we are referring to the period from 6,000 BCE to up to 4,000 BCE. All right. So this is the date for the Neolithic age. Now, if you compare it with the geological framework, now in the geography, you will be studying about the geological ages, right? So when I talk about the geological age, this particular period, the Paleolithic age, it coincides with the Pleistocene era. So Pleistocene era, it is a period which was dominated by Ice Age. So can you think what will be the climate in the Paleolithic age? It will be cooler, it will be colder, right? Everywhere the climate would be more or less, it will be cold climate. And to the extreme areas in the North Pole, in the South Pole, it will be like the freezing cold, correct? So Pleistocene era, it coincides with the Ice Age, okay? When I talk about the Mesolithic era, it the Paleolithic age coincides with the Pleistocene era, which is an ice age. Okay. When I talk about Mesolithic age, it coincides with the Holocene era. Holocene era is the recent era. Okay. And further, the Neolithic age also coincides with the Holocene era, the middle phase of the Holocene era. All right. Now, these ages, the geographical ages or the geological ages, you will be covering in the subject geography. All right. Here, I will not spend much time on this part. Just you should be aware about this coincides with which part of the geographical era, hence I've mentioned it, okay? So please remember, Paleolithic, it coincides with the Pleistocene era. Mesolithic and Neolithic with the which era? Holocene era, okay? So need to remember this. Now we are going to move ahead and we are going to focus on Paleolithic age for today, okay? So when I talk about the Paleolithic age, we all know it refers to as what? The Old Stone Age, okay? Now, can you imagine what would be the life of a man in the Old Stone Age? Just imagine, like, just take into consideration the circumstances that man has just evolved into Homo sapiens. Okay, so earlier he was a apes, right? So the apes were there. Apes slowly and gradually evolved into Homo erectus, Homo habilis, Homo sapiens, sapiens. So just imagine, man is just in the process of the evolution. So what would be the life of the earliest man? Can you imagine? So first of all, we need to admit that earliest man lived in consonance with the nature. His life was wholly or solely dependent upon the nature, the natural resources. Okay. So hunting and gathering was the primary occupation of a man for subsistence. What do you mean by subsistence? For his livelihood. Okay. For his basic living, man was wholly and solely dependent on nature. Rather, his entire life revolved around the nature and the natural resources. Okay. So during that point of time, man was a hunter hunting the wild animals, and a gatherer. What do you mean by gatherer? Gathering foods, gathering fruits, roots, tubers from the nature, from the forest. Okay. So the basic subsistence, the things which he basically dependent for his livelihood, that were hunting and gathering. Okay, I hope this is pretty clear. Now, the second important thing, where did he live? So he lived in consonance with the nature. He lived in the natural rock shelters, cave shelters. Okay, so the earliest caves used to be there, the natural rock shelters, the caves used to be there. So man used to stay inside those caves in order to protect him from the extreme cold. Okay, so he lived in caves and the rock shelters. Examples of these caves and rock shelters are in Madhya Pradesh. The famous rock shelters are the Bhimbetka rock shelters of Madhya Pradesh. And even in Karnataka, Kurnool caves in Hangsi are the very famous. Okay, so Hangsi is in Karnataka. In Andhra Pradesh, there are Kurnool caves. Okay, I'll write over here Andhra Pradesh. There are Kurnool caves, which are very famous as the rock shelters. Okay, so earliest man lived in the natural shelters, and these were the rock shelters. Okay, examples you can consider of Bhimbetka rock shelters in Madhya Pradesh and Hangsi, it's in Karnataka. One more I have mentioned, Kurnool caves, they were in Andhra Pradesh. All right. So shelter is over, subsistence is over. Now let us try to understand whether man was aware about the use of fire. So absolutely yes, he was aware about the use of the fire. So the story goes like that. He at one point of time he was just colliding with the stones, or he was just striking the stones or the barks of the trees, and he could see that spark ignited. And from that, he understood that fire could be generated, fire could be produced. And in this manner, man produced fire. Okay. And how do we know that that Paleolithic age man knew the use of fire? Evidences. Okay. Evidences of ashes were discovered from the very important cave shelters, and these are the Kurnool cave shelters in Andhra Pradesh. Okay. So Kurnool cave shelters in the present day Andhra Pradesh, they houses from there the archaeologists discovered ashes, and when the radiocarbon dating was done of these ashes, it was revealed that the ashes belong to the dates that coincide with the Paleolithic age. And hence it was finally declared that Paleolithic age man knew the use of fire. So for what purpose he might have used the fire? So see, Paleolithic age coincides with the Pleistocene era, and that was the major part of the Ice Age. Okay, so definitely to protect himself from the cold, he might have used fire. Next important use could be source of a light, because the caves used to be very dark at night. So source of a light to watch, to see the neighboring things, that could be there. Third thing, to ward off the wild animals, right? He used to stay in jungle, in the forested area, so there was always a fear of attack of the wild animals. So to protect himself from the wild animals, he might have used fire. The next important thing, to roast the meat, that could have been the use of the fire. So multi-purpose were there of the fire, but the most important thing is that fire was used by man. He was aware about the use of fire during the Paleolithic age, and the strongest evidence of the use of fire is we get it from the Kurnool caves of Andhra Pradesh. Okay, ashes were discovered over there, so please remember this. Now, when we say, as I've repeated many a times, when I say Stone Age, so stone tools dominated. So definitely during this point of time, man made tools out of a stone. And in the Paleolithic age, one particular stone dominated. Like majority of the tools were made from quartzite. Okay. And hence, the Paleolithic age man is known as a quartzite man. So please remember this. Quartzite was the dominant stone used by the man in the Paleolithic age. And hence, the man of the Paleolithic period is known as what? Quartzite man. Okay, so please, you need to remember this. This could be a preliminary question. Which age man is known as the Quartzite man? Or there can be a statement. Paleolithic age man is also known as the Quartzite man. Or they could just put a statement. Majority of the stone tools in the Paleolithic age were made up of quartzite. So answer is, the statement is absolutely correct. Okay. Now, when I talk about the tools of this period. Now, just imagine man just began the art of making stone tools. So, do you think the tools will be very finished or very polished? No, absolutely not. He was very naive. Okay, naive in the sense he just began this art of making the stone tools. So, first of all, the tools were very rudimentary, very basic. Second important thing, they were very big and they were very bulky. Okay, big and bulky. Third thing, they were absolutely rough and unpolished. Why? Because man just learned that art of making the stone tools. He did not yet master that art. Slowly and gradually, when man began to master this art, we will see that there was a gradual development in the making of the stone tools. Okay, I hope till here all the points of the Paleolithic age are pretty clear. So, first of all, for subsistence, man dependent on hunting and gathering. Okay, shelter, he lived in the natural rock shelters. Examples: Bhimbetka, Hangsi. He was aware about the use of fire. Yes, we get the examples from where? Kurnool caves, Andhra Pradesh. Okay. And the next important thing, tools. Which tool dominated? Which stone dominated? Quartzite. And hence, the man of Paleolithic age is known as what? Quartzite man. Okay. Let us proceed ahead. Now, these are the important sites. So first, let us locate. So this I have taken from NCRT. The red color one is the marker for the Paleolithic site. Red and the triangle, okay, red triangle. This is a marker for the Paleolithic sites, okay. So just look it over here. Can you see over here Bhimbetka? Bhimbetka is the famous rock shelter, and this is where located in Madhya Pradesh, Raisen district, okay. Then can you see over here Hangsi? In Karnataka, yet another important Paleolithic site, okay. Can you see over here Kurnool caves? What is the significance of Kurnool caves? What was discovered over here? Ash. That signifies the use of fire. Okay. So you can remember this three sites with the code BHK. Okay. BHK, Bhimbetka, Hangsi and Kurnool. Okay. Let's proceed ahead. Yeah, the other sites we'll study later on with respect to that particular age. Okay. Now let us focus on the major Paleolithic discoveries. Okay, first I'll take the discoveries and then we'll understand the evolution of the stone tools. Okay, now when I talk about the major Paleolithic discoveries, the two discoveries are very significant. The very first discovery was done by a famous British engineer, Robert Bruce Foote. Okay, Robert Bruce Foote, he was a geologist. Okay, he was a geologist. Geologist, not an engineer, he was a geologist. Okay. So Robert Bruce Foote, he was studying in South India, and at that time he was working in South India as a geologist, a British officer. And he identified the first Paleolithic tool of India. And that Paleolithic tool is the hand axe. Can you see over here? This is the hand axe. And this tool was located from a site that is Pallavaram village. Pallavaram village is located near Chennai in Tamil Nadu. And hence, this particular tool is known as the first Paleolithic tool of our country, of India. Okay, so please remember this. And this tool is now named as Pallavaram hand axe. So please remember, Pallavaram hand axe is the first Paleolithic tool of our country. Where this Pallavaram site is located, it is located near Chennai in Tamil Nadu. And who discovered it? A British geologist. What was his name? Robert Bruce Foote. And hence, Robert Bruce Foote is also known as father of prehistoric studies of India. Father of Indian prehistoric studies. Okay. Why? Because he was the one who discovered the first stone tool of our country, and this was discovered in 1863, and that marked the beginning of Indian prehistory studies. So from that point of time, people took interest to study about the prehistoric age of India, and hence Sir Robert Bruce Foote is known as the father of Indian prehistoric studies. Okay, so please remember this. Now let us move ahead and let us try to understand yet another important discovery. Now, there was an Indian archaeologist, Arun Sonakia, okay, Sir Arun Sonakia. And Sir Arun Sonakia, he discovered a very important cranium fragment. Cranium fragment, skull cap, okay. So he found a fossilized that it was in deeply located in the mud, and it was in the fossil shape, okay. The flesh and all was decomposed, and only the cranium, the fragment part, okay, of the skull cap was discovered, okay. And this was discovered at Hathnora. Hathnora, it's a village in Madhya Pradesh on the banks of river Narmada. Okay. And when the radiocarbon dating of this skull fragment was done, it was revealed that this particular skull fragment belongs to a 30-year-old woman. And when further detailed studies, now from the size of this brain, from the size of the skull, you come to know that this particular skull belonged to which generation, or you can say which genus of man. Okay, so when the studies were done, it was revealed that this particular fragment belonged to Homo erectus. And who are Homo erectus? Apes who evolved into Homo erectus. They were the first beings who could stand erect. Apes used to, how they used to walk? They used to walk like the monkeys, right, on their four limbs. But erectus were the apes who could stand erect. Okay, so Homo erectus. So this suggests that yes, apes migrated to India. Now the theory says that apes evolved in Africa, and from Africa they migrated to all the other continents. Okay, so it is being said that they came to India as well, settled here, and slowly and gradually they evolved into the modern man. Fine. So this is the biggest hint that Homo erectus existed in our country as well. All right. So Homo erectus, and since this particular fossil fragment was discovered from across the Narmada River, this came to be known as Narmada Nessus. Okay, so please remember this. Homo erectus Narmada Nessus is the earliest homonid fossil. This is called as the earliest homonid fossil of India. So this could be a preliminary question. These days, UPSC is going much into the depth. So please remember this. The earliest homonid fossil of India was discovered from where? Hathnora. Where is this Hathnora located? In Madhya Pradesh. Who discovered it? Arun Sonakia. Okay, so these are the two major discoveries, at least. These two major discoveries you need to remember. All right, let's move ahead. Now we are going to understand the evolution of stone tools in the Paleolithic age. Okay, now first what we have understood, the Stone Age is divided into three parts: Paleolithic, Mesolithic, and Neolithic. But I mentioned that Paleolithic age is the biggest phase, right? It begins from approximately around 2 million years ago, and it continues to up to 10,000 BCE. So it is the biggest span. So further, for the convenience, for the better understanding, this Paleolithic age is divided into three parts. So first of all, let us try to understand the three subparts of the Paleolithic age. Okay. So the first subpart is Lower Paleolithic. Lower Paleolithic, you can say the earliest Paleolithic part, the earliest part of the Paleolithic age. Okay. The early Pale. So lower is also called as, I'll write over here itself. Just a second. I'll clear this. Yeah. So lower is also called as early Paleolithic. Fine. So early Paleolithic or the lower Paleolithic, it began from around 2 million before Common Era or 2 million years ago in simple. And it continued to up to 1 lakh. This is 1 lakh, 1 lakh years ago or 1 lakh BC. Fine. So that is the earliest part of the Paleolithic age, which is called as the early Paleolithic age, or it is also known as the lower Paleolithic age. Okay. Then when we come to the middle one, middle Paleolithic age, it begins from around 1 lakh years ago or 1 lakh BCE, and it continues to up to 40,000 BCE. Fine. And then we have the upper is the later Paleolithic. So this is the early Paleolithic, this is the later, and this is the middle Paleolithic. Okay. So upper or later, either you can use the word upper or you can use the word later. Okay. It begins from around 40,000 BCE and it continues to up to 10,000 BCE. I hope the timeline is pretty clear. Okay. So lower, it is also known as the early Paleolithic era. Then middle Paleolithic, the middle one only, and the upper is also known as the later. Getting it? Timelines are pretty clear. 2 million years ago to 1 lakh years ago, 1 lakh years ago to 40,000 years ago, 40,000 years ago to 10,000 years ago. Okay. Now, let us focus on the tools of these age. Okay. So, if you look at the lower Paleolithic age, the tools are known as the core tools. Okay. First, I'll clear this. Now, I'll explain how these tools were created. Okay. Now, I'll just go to one slide over here. Is there any blank space? No. Fine. I'll continue here only. So just imagine, just imagine that two big stones were taken like this. Okay. Now what did man do? He collided these two big stones against each other like this. Just collided. Just collided. So what will happen if you're colliding? Just imagine you're colliding two big stones. You are in your hand, there are two big stones, and you are just colliding them against each other. What will happen? Its particles will fall down. So these two big stones, these are stones, okay? You are colliding them against each other. So what will happen? Their particles will fall down like this, like this. And what will you get? So many, the loosened particles will fall. So you will get, for example, this and this. Okay. And these were called as what? Core stones. Okay. I'll draw it once again so that it will be pretty clear. Just a second. Yeah. So just imagine these are the two big stones like this. Okay. You are colliding them against each other and these particles fell down. After that, you will get something stone will remain. That remaining stone will be suppose like this. So two remaining stones you got out of the two big stones, you got two remaining stones. These stones were called as what? Core stones. Okay, core stones. And in the lower Paleolithic age, the tools that were made, they were made out of that core stones. And hence the tools were called as core tools. And since the core stones were very big, see, they were a part of this big stone only, right? The large stone, but they were also comparatively big. Why? Because only fragments fell down. The stone remained. So even the core stones were big enough. Okay. So whatever tools that were made from the core stone, they were called as the core tools. And they were again large in size. So hence the tools of the lower Paleolithic age were big, they were bulky, they were made from the core tools and core stone, and hence they were called as what? The core tools. I hope it is pretty clear now. Fine. So let us let us understand the examples of the core tools. Okay. So these are the examples of the core tools. So first of all, can you see a hand axe, which is a big one, right? Which was the hand axe discovered by Sir Robert Bruce Foote. If you guys remember, what was the name of that hand axe? Pallavaram hand axe. Okay, so please remember Pallavaram hand axe. Okay, now Talking about this, so this is the first hand axe. Remember this, the biggest one. Then this is the chopper, and this is the cleaver. Getting it? So three types of stone tools were made in the lower Paleolithic age. Since they were made from the core stone, they were called as what? Core tools. What are the examples? Hand axes, cleavers, and choppers. What were the uses? Okay, so they were used for digging the soil, chopping the meat. Okay, so choppers, especially choppers were, so I'll explain the use of each one of them so that it will become pretty clear to you guys. So hand axes were mainly used for digging the soil. Okay, why digging the soil? Why man had to dig the soil? For what purpose? To get the roots, to get the tubers and roots. Okay, you know that roots and tubers, they were roasted and cooked by man, and they were eaten. Even today also, we eat that roots and tubers. If you go to your native place and all, your grandmother and all, they give you specially to eat that roots and tubers. Okay, so that are those. Okay, for the digging the soil, hand axes were used. Okay, choppers, for what purpose choppers were used? Choppers were used for chopping the meat. Okay, for chopping the meat, the choppers were used. And clivers were specially used to remove the skin of the animal. Okay, so clivers were used for skinning purpose. Okay, so once again I'll repeat, the lower Paleolithic tools, they were made from a core stone, and hence they were called as the core tools. Okay, and core stone itself was a big one, so the tools were very big, heavy, crude, unpolished. Getting it? That you need to remember. Okay, so what was the technique? Direct hard hammer precursion on the large cores. Okay, so the technique which I explained you just now, that is that technique. Okay, now let us try to understand the middle Paleolithic tools. Okay, now here what I told you, when the two big stones were collided against each other, what happened? The fragments fell down. These fragments are called as what? Flake. In the middle Paleolithic age, the tools were made from these flakes. So can you imagine? From a flake, you are making a tool. So definitely the size will be small. So they will be lighter. Because see, can you imagine you are making a tool from a core? Core is bigger. So it will be heavy, bulky, crude. But you are just making a tool out of a flake. So it will be lighter, more refined, getting it? And the technique is called as the flaking technique. Yes, and this technique where the tools were made out of the flakes, this is called as Levallois method. So please remember this Levallois method. Okay, this is the Levallois method, prepared code method. Okay, so basically flakes were removed and the core was made in the first stage, and those remaining flakes were used in the second stage, so hence it is called as the Levallois technique. Okay, so that you need to remember. Now what were the tools in the middle Paleolithic age? Pointers, scrappers, and borers. Okay, so pointers, you can see where they are very pointed one, sharp objects. Okay, pointers, these are the scrapers, and these are the borers. Fine. So please remember these tools were used in the middle Paleolithic age. Okay. Now let us come to the upper Paleolithic age. Now in the upper Paleolithic age, they continued the use of flakes only. So again, the tools will be what? Lighter, more refined one. But now what they did, they used parallel side flakes, or what you can say blades. They use, knife we use at a house. Okay, so knife, it's like a blade only. Can you imagine? Now you have a very modern knife, but the earlier knives used to be a simple, just a blade like a structure. Okay, so these are the blade tools, and blade tools are nothing but the precursors of the present day knife. Okay, and these are the burins are considered to be the precursors of a screwdriver. Fine. So blades are basically sharpened from both the ends, and hence flakes evolved into blades. So in the upper Paleolithic age, blade tools were used. So these were more advanced and more specialized. Parallel sided blades are these ones, and these are considered to be the precursors of the knife. And the burins were used for cutting and the engraving tools, and these were specially are considered to be the precursors of the modern day screwdriver. Okay, and this technique where the parallel sides and all is used, so this is used, this is the more advanced and more finished technique. Okay, so in this manner, what are we understanding? We are understanding that slowly and gradually, with the progress of man, the tools developed. Okay, so from the heavy, crude, Tools, we finally shifted towards the light, sharp, bladed, modern tools. Fine. So this is the evolution of the stone tools. Please remember this, okay? So lower Paleolithic age, which tools were used? Core tools. Fine. Why? Because they were made from a big core stone. Examples, hand axe, cleaver, and chopper. Middle Paleolithic age, flakes. The flakes, the remnants which they got while making that core stone, okay? That flakes were made from which technique? Levallois technique. What are the examples? Pointers, scrapers, and borers. You can call them as points also. You can call them as pointers also, one and the same. Finally, in the Upper Paleolithic age, the same flakes were more finished. Okay, the more finished, more advanced techniques were used on the flakes only, and hence they were called as the blades. Blades. These are parallels from both the sides. They are sharpened. Okay, parallel slided blades, precursor of a knife. And burins, these are considered to be the precursors of the screwdriver. Okay, so I hope this particular part is clear. Now let us try to understand these ages in little bit detail. Okay, so as I've mentioned, the earliest part of the Paleolithic age is called as the lower Paleolithic age, or it is called as the early Paleolithic age. Okay, now with which geological era it collided or it coincided? So as I have mentioned, that Paleolithic age coincides with what? Pleistocene era. Getting it? So upper, or the this one, the lower early, I'm referring to this, not upper, this. I'll use the marker, yes. So this one, the lower or the early Paleolithic age, it coincided with the lower Pleistocene era. Fine. And here the stone tools were very large core tools, typically made up of a very hard rock. That was a hand axe. Examples we have seen: hand axes to dig in the soil, cut the wood, choppers to cut the meat, to chop the meat, okay, and clivers to cut through the animal bone, to remove the skin of the animal. For that it was used. What was the base of a man? Hunting and gathering. So subsistence was hunting and gathering. Middle Paleolithic, it coincided with the Middle Pleistocene era. Okay, gradual transition in the stone tool technology. See, the earlier stone tools continued to be used. So hand axes, clivers, and choppers continued, but man introduced more advanced tools as well by using Levallois technique. Okay, so pointers, these were the hunting weapons. They were used for hunting purpose. Scrapers were used for processing the animal skins, removing the animal skins, cleaning the animal skins. For that point, scrapers were used. Borers were used in order to make hole into the skin or into the bone or into the wood. For that, borers were used. Okay, again, what was the base of a man? Hunting and gathering. So throughout this age, man was a hunter and a gatherer. Okay, now next, upper or the later Paleolithic age, it coincided with the upper Pleistocene era. Again, here, what type of tools were used? Blade is what? A special type of a flake tool. That and now most important part of a blade is that it is twice long as it is, in the sense, I'll just, yeah. So when you compare it to its width, so it is, the length is twice of its width. Getting it? So width is this. So length is twice of its. That you need to remember. Width, or you can just call it as breadth. Okay, length and breadth. So if you compare, its breadth is small, breadth is half, and the width is the length is twice of its breadth when I talk about the blade tools. Okay, so remember this. Parallel slide, that is, they are even and parallel. From both ends, you can use it. Burin is a small tool which is made from a blade, and it is a precursor of a modern day screwdriver. Okay, so these are the tools of the Paleolithic age, and we have understood the evolution of the stone tools. And the best side where you can find all these evidences is the Bhimbetka rock shelters. Now, one more thing I would like to mention about the upper Paleolithic age or the later Paleolithic age. This period is also significant. Why? Because this marks the beginning of the earliest paintings in the Indian subcontinent. Earliest paintings, okay, began in this period. But these paintings are very rudimentary, very basic ones, okay. Paintings dominated in the middle age, that is in the Mesolithic era. Okay, we'll be understanding it in the next session. But paintings began during. So if there is a UPSC preliminary question, paintings began in which particular age? So please remember, paintings began in the Upper Paleolithic age. But these paintings were very rude, very simple in design. Okay, but they were, and from where were these paintings discovered? The paintings were discovered from the Bhimbetka rock shelters. So that also you can remember. All right. I hope it is pretty clear. So today we have understood about the Paleolithic evolution. Now let us have quickly a look at the Paleolithic sites. Okay, so we are going to discuss now the important Paleolithic sites. So the sites are over here. Okay, let's begin. So the very first is the lower Paleolithic age site. Okay. So lower Paleolithic, now we all know all the characteristics. Okay. Earliest phase of the human occupation, which tools were used, core tools were used. Examples can you give? Hand axes, cleavers, and choppers. Okay. Made up of quartzite, that you need to remember. Important sites when I talk about Sohan Valley. This valley, it is located in present day Pakistan, in the northwest of India, in the Pakistan, and pebble tools were discovered from here. In India, when I talk about, you have Balan Valley across the Balan River in Uttar Pradesh. Okay, so lower Paleolithic important site in India is Balan Valley. Okay, for middle Paleolithic, the important site is Nevasa. Nevasa, it's in Maharashtra. From Rajasthan, we have a site Didwana. Didwana is an important site from Rajasthan, and Narmada Valley, Madhya Pradesh. We have understood the discovery of the homonid fossil Hathanora from the Hathanora village. Okay, Homo erectus Narmada Nessus. So that Narmada Valley is very important. Okay. When I talk about the Upper Paleolithic, what are the important sites for the Upper Paleolithic? We have Bhimbetka rock shelters. As I've mentioned, earliest rock paintings in India were discovered from this particular period, Upper Paleolithic age, and the best site to watch these paintings are the Bhimbetka rock shelters. Okay, we'll be studying about these paintings in detail in the upcoming session. Fine. The next important site is Kurnool Caves. Very important, Andhra Pradesh. Why? Ashes, which gives us the evidences of the use of fire, were discovered over here. Gudiyam Caves, yet another evidences of the Upper Paleolithic habitation from Tamil Nadu. Okay, and one more site which we have already discussed, Hangsi from Karnataka. So please remember all these important sites. Gudiyam Caves are again important, discovered from Tamil Nadu region. Okay. So I hope all the important details of the Paleolithic age are pretty clear. So today we have discussed about the classification of the Indian Stone Age. We have understood that the Indian Stone Age is categorized into three periods: Paleolithic, Mesolithic, and Neolithic. Okay. And from that we began with the Paleolithic age. Okay. So we understood the characteristic features of the Paleolithic age. We understood about the two important discoveries, right? One by Robert Bruce Foote, the Pallavaram hand axe, the first Paleolithic tool of our country, and Sir Robert Bruce Foote. He's known as the father of Indian prehistoric studies. And then we studied about the discovery by Sir Arun Sonakia, and that discovery is of the Homo erectus Narmada Nessus, okay, homonid, a fossil of a 30-year-old woman. Fine, so please remember those discoveries. Then we discussed about the Paleolithic age. Under the Paleolithic age, we understood the three important classifications, okay. So the early Paleolithic age, the middle Paleolithic age, and the later Paleolithic age. Okay. Further, we understood the evolution of stone tools across these three ages, right? So in the earliest, we understood that core tools were used. In the middle, flake tools were used. And finally, in the later, or you can say in the upper Paleolithic age, which tools were used? Blade tools were used. Example, blades and burins. Okay. So that's it for the day. In the upcoming session, we'll be discussing the Mesolithic age, that is the middle Stone Age, and the most important part which we are going to discuss in the Mesolithic age, that is about the rock paintings. And rock paintings are very important even from the mains perspective. Okay, thank you so much for the day and happy studying. That's it from my end. Thank you. Hello aspirants, let us continue our learning journey. Today we are going to study a very important part of prehistoric India, and that is the Mesolithic age. So if you guys remember, in the previous session, we covered about the Paleolithic age, right? We understood about the lower Paleolithic, middle Paleolithic, and the later Paleolithic. Today we are going to focus on the middle Stone Age, and that is referred to as Mesolithic age. Okay, so let us begin with our session on the Mesolithic age. All right. Now, the Mesolithic age is referred to as Meso. Meso means what? The middle. Lithic. Lithic, we are referring to stone, and we are referring to the middle stone age. Okay. If you look at the timeline of this middle stone age, it begins from around 10,000 BCE. I hope you guys know what is BCE, before Christ or the before Common Era. And in the Indian subcontinent, this particular age continued up to 6,000 BCE. Fine. And when I talk about Mesolithic age is a transitional phase between the Paleolithic age and the Neolithic age. Or you can say that the Mesolithic age connects Paleolithic age with the Neolithic age. Okay, so it is a transitional phase between Paleolithic age and the Neolithic age. Fine. Now, when you talk about the Mesolithic age, there is one hallmark development of the Mesolithic period, or you can say that the characteristic feature of the Mesolithic age. And this characteristic feature is the use of microliths. Okay, so we are going to understand them in detail. So, microliths are the characteristic tools of this particular age. Okay, or whenever you are talking about the Mesolithic age, the first thing that should hit your mind should be the microliths. Okay, now you can guess what do you mean by microliths. Micro means what? Small. Lith means what? Stone. Okay. So we are referring to tiny stone tools. So that is a remarkable feature of the Mesolithic era. Tiny stone tools, these tools ranges from 1 centimeter to max up to 5 centimeter. Okay. So size of these tools are 1 centimeter to 5 centimeter. Fine. And when you look at the tools, you will find different geometrical shapes. Okay, so can you see over here the images? You can find over here the tools are in the shapes of a triangle. Okay, they are in the shape of a lunate. If you remember lunate, Mowgli used to, if you have seen that cartoon, Mowgli cartoon, there was a lunate in his hand which he used to throw during the time of hunting. Okay, so lunate is that microlithic stone tool. There are certain which are also called as the crescents, which are in the shape of a crescent. Okay, like this. So this is a lunate or the crescent. Okay, then you have trapeze, the tools which are in the shape of a trapezoid. Okay, so microliths are the characteristic stone tools of the Mesolithic era, and these refer to the stone tools which ranges from the size of 1 centimeter to max up to 5 centimeter. Okay, and these tools are represented in the geometrical shapes. So these are either triangular in shape, crescent shape, or the lunate shape, or the trapezoids in shape. Okay, the next important characteristic feature of this period is the composite tools. Okay, now what are the composite tools? Composite tools are nothing but when you are attaching a microlith to a handle. So that handle could be a bone handle, it could be a wooden handle. So across that bone handle or the wooden handle, you are hafting. Hafting means what? You are attaching microliths. Okay, so can you see over here? There is an arrow. Okay, there's a sickle, there is a harpoon. So the handles could be a wooden handle, a bone handle, a wooden handle. And to that handle, you are attaching microliths. So arrow, you are attaching a triangular microlith. Okay, so in this manner, you will get what? You will get composite stone tools. Okay, so what are the composite stone tools? These are nothing but microliths which are hafted, which are attached to a bone or a wooden handle. Okay, examples of these composite tools are what? Arrows are there, sickles are there, and harpoons are there. Okay, so these tools are the defining feature of the Mesolithic era. Please do remember this. The next important aspect of the Mesolithic era is that now let us try to understand what was the life in this period. Okay, now certain characteristics of the Paleolithic period continued here. So we know that in the Paleolithic age, man was a hunter gatherer. Similarly, in the Mesolithic age also, man was a hunter gatherer only. He used to hunt animals and he used to gather food from the nature, okay, from the forest. That is roots, fruits, tubers. He used to gather from the nature. All right. So first is hunting and gathering, fishing, all these things continued. He continued to stay in the rock shelters, in the natural shelters. Okay. We find examples of rock shelters from Bhimbetka in Madhya Pradesh. Okay. The next important aspect is that he continued the use of fire. Fire was used for cooking the food, for roasting the meat, to scare off the animals. Okay. So for all that purposes, fire was used. Fine. Now, the next important characteristic development that happened in this period was domestication of animals. Okay, now this was a particularly very interesting thing. For the first time, man was able to distinguish which animals are the wild animals, which animals are the human friendly animals. Human friendly in the sense, what are the animals that are gentle in their appearance, which are gentle, soft, their approach is soft and gentle towards human beings. So, man was able to identify such animals and he began for the very first time domestication of the animals. So, please remember this, the first signs of domestication of animals. In which age do we find? We find the signs of domestication of animals in the Mesolithic age. Please remember this, okay? Particularly across the Mesolithic sites, we have seen discovered the bones of dogs. Okay, dog bones are there predominantly. Apart from that, we even find the bones of cattle, sheep, pig. Okay, all these bones are also found, but predominantly we find the bones of dogs. Okay, and slowly and gradually, when you domesticate an animal, the animal itself undergoes a process of adaptation and evolution. Okay, so just compare a dog who is wild and a dog who is domesticated. What difference you identify? The first difference is that the wild dogs are really with the big canines, hairy and very aggressive. But on the same hand, if you look at the domesticated dogs or the even the street dogs, if you look at them, first of all, they do not have that much hair, fur on their body. Second important thing, they do not have that predominantly developed canines. The reason is that they get the food and all from here, from the human beings. They do not have to fight for their survival in the dense forest where there are so many competitors, right? And also, when you look at their muscle, their posture, the posture and the muscle of the domesticated animals is gentle in comparison to the posture of the wild animals. Okay, so wild animals you can easily identify from their posture that these are wild animals, and the domesticated animals you can easily identify from their gentle nature, from the lesser amount of fur on their body, from the less developed canines. Okay, the teeth. Okay, so in this manner domestication of animal became a characteristic feature of the Mesolithic age. Okay, so Mesolithic age is very important for these important reasons. So, what is the first reason? What are the characteristic tools of the Mesolithic age? Microliths. Okay, so please remember this. Second, what are the other types of tools? Composite tools. Okay, and the third important feature of this period is the animal domestication. The earliest beginning or the first sign of animal domestication started in the Mesolithic era or the Mesolithic age. Okay. Now, yet another prominent feature of the Mesolithic age is explosion of rock shelter paintings. Okay. Now, when you talk about the beginning of paintings, we have understood that the earliest rock paintings began in India in the Upper Paleolithic age. Okay. We know that Paleolithic age is divided into three periods: lower, middle, and upper. So, in the Upper Paleolithic age, man just began the art of paintings. Okay. But the period in which this art proliferated or exploded, or you find predominantly, is the Mesolithic age. So please remember, Mesolithic age is known for explosion of rock shelter paintings, and we are going to understand them in detail. Okay, I hope these features are pretty clear. So Mesolithic age is the Middle Stone Age. It is a transitional phase between Paleolithic age and the Neolithic age. The timeline is 10,000 BCE to up to 6,000 BCE. Characteristics are microliths, composite tools, and the first signs of animal domestication. Predominantly, dogs were domesticated. And the last and the important point is explosion of rock shelter paintings. Okay, so please remember all these points. These are very significant and important. Okay. Now, when you look at the microliths, okay, so just have a look at the microliths. So there can be a question in the mains examination. Write a short note on the microliths. Microliths are the characteristic stone tools of the Mesolithic era, right? So what are the characteristics of these tools? So first of all, you are supposed to write they are the tiny stone tools, typically in the range of 1 centimeter to 5 centimeter. What all shapes do you find? You find the shapes which are geometric, triangular, crescent, rectangular, trapezoid. Okay, all that shapes you are supposed to mention. The next important thing, you are supposed to mention the material from which they were made. Okay, so that they used different stones in order to make this microliths. The stones were chert, chalcedony, quartz, and jasper. Okay, if you remember Paleolithic age, quartzite was mainly used, and hence Paleolithic age man is also known as quartzite man. Okay, but now what you can understand over here, different types of stones were used to make this microliths. Okay, so microliths are the hallmark of the Mesolithic age, and this suggests a very important thing: advancement in the stone tool technology. Okay, if you compare the tools of the Paleolithic age, for the most important thing which we understand is that the tools were very big and bulky and unpolished. But now, with the advancement in the technology, with the progress of man, the most important thing which we find over here is that the tool size shrink and tools were more efficient and tools were polished ones. Okay, so these are the features of the microlithic tools. What was the purpose of use of these microlithic tools? For hunting, for fishing, for gathering in a more efficient manner. Okay, so this indicates adaptability and innovation of Mesolithic humans. Okay, so all this you need to remember, and you can see over here the composite tool also. Okay, so microliths, how they were used, they were attached to a wooden or a bone handle to create a composite tool. Okay, so they were used in making arrows and arrowheads, sickles for the harvesting purpose, harpoons, okay, fish hooks, knives, and the cutting tools. Fine. Now, where do you find these tools? So, we find these tools from the important Mesolithic sites such as Bhimbetka. Bhimbetka, it's in Madhya Pradesh. Bagor. Bagor is a very well excavated Mesolithic era site which is in Rajasthan. Okay, so very important Mesolithic era site, Bagor, Rajasthan. Please remember this. Okay, Laglanch, yet another important site. It is in Gujarat. Okay, Mahadaha. Mahadaha is yet another important site. This is in Uttar Pradesh. And Sarai Narhar, again in UP. So these are the important sites which you need to remember. So these are the important Mesolithic sites in India. Okay. And we know the characteristics. It's a transitional phase that you need to know. And hunting of, the first signs of animal domestication is being found in this particular period. Okay, let us move ahead. I hope this microlithic tools are pretty clear. If there is a question on this, you are in a position to write an answer. Okay, so you can conclude this: microliths are small, but they are smart tools. Why they are smart tools? Because they reflect the skill, the creativity, and adaptive nature of Mesolithic humans. Okay, helping them to survive and thrive in the changing environment. Okay, so in this manner, you can even conclude the answer. So do prepare a mains answer of a 10 marks. That is, what are the characteristics of the Mesolithic age? Or you can mention that what are the characteristic tools of the Mesolithic age. Okay, now let us move ahead. And let us focus on the most important topic. Now, this is very important from the mains perspective because this is a part of Indian heritage and culture. And if you guys know that in the mains examination in General Studies Paper 1, we have the very first topic as Indian heritage and culture. So, in this Indian heritage and culture, you can direct get a 10 or a 15 marker question that is on the rock paintings of the prehistoric India. Or there could be a question how this rock paintings help us to serve as the important source of information about the prehistoric life, okay, about the prehistoric man, okay, because see, for the prehistoric age, we do not have any written records. So, what are the sources to study about the prehistory of India? Such remains, archaeological remains, and out of this, rock paintings are most important expression of human creativity and whatever was ongoing. So, what are the themes of this rock paintings? Okay, the themes are the daily life of the man, and from that themes, you can easily come to know what were the activities or were the daily livelihood aspects of the Stone Age man, okay, particularly the Mesolithic man, okay. So that we are going to understand through these rock paintings, okay. So rock paintings are important source of information to study about Mesolithic era man, okay. Where are these rock paintings found? These rock paintings are found in the rock shelters. In the rock shelters, in the caves, on the floors, on the ceilings, on the walls, you find this rock paintings, okay. And most importantly, these paintings depict the lifestyle, the belief, and the day to day activities of the Mesolithic communities. And hence, they serve as the most important source of information to study Mesolithic age in India. Okay. Now, first of all, let us decode how the paintings were done. Okay, what colors were used, what type of brushes were used. Okay, now when I talk about the brushes, so they use the animal tail hair. You know, squirrel tail. It is so much furry. So they used to take out the fur, and that they were binded, and to get a brush was made. Okay, so animal tail hair was used. Plant fibers were used. Okay, as a brushes. Second important thing, what is the color palette? So if you look at the colors, they are vibrant. Today also the paintings are rich and vibrant. Why? Because the colors they use, they were natural compounds. Okay. So the predominantly used colors were three: red, white, and green. Okay. So from where did they get the red color? It is said that the red color they got it from iron oxide. Now, if you guys know, whenever we apply rangoli, so before applying a rangoli, you prepare the floor. How do you prepare the floor? By applying geru. This is called as geru in the local terms. Okay. So this is nothing but the iron oxide. So you apply that geru iron oxide, and on that you make the rangoli design. Okay. So that is that red color. So from here they got the red color. Then the white color, they got it from the limestone. So please remember, these are the important aspects. Okay. So from where did they get the white color? From the limestone. And green color, they got it from a mineral, chalcedony. Okay. From chalcedony or chalcedony, you can pronounce it. They got the green color. So what they used to do now, first of all, they used to grind this minerals. Okay. Can you see over here? So in this way, they got the powder, red color, white color, the chalcedony, from chalcedony, they got the green color. So what they used to do, they used to take the powder. They used to take animal fat. Okay. So in one bowl, just imagine there is an animal fat. They used to add to that animal fat egg. Okay. Egg. Now, the egg which we eat, okay. So animal, now that at that time the eggs could be of different animals only, fine. So it could be any bird's egg, okay. So they used to add that egg. Then they used to add animal fat, vegetable oil, extracts they used to add, and then they used to put this color, the mineral color, and then they used to mix it, and then they used to paint it. So because of this, what used to happen? The colors used to bind with the floor, and they used to stick to the floor because animal fat was there, egg was there, vegetable oil was there. So because of this, what used to happen? The colors used to bind against the wall, against the floor. Okay. And paintings used to be intact. So today also the paintings are quite intact. Okay. Now please remember this, from where did they get the colors. Okay. Now what are the themes? So themes are very important because these themes will help you to decode the life of the Mesolithic man. Okay. Now first of all, we know that hunting and gathering was the basic life of a man. So which themes will dominate? Definitely the hunting scenes will dominate, the gathering scenes will dominate. Exactly, that is seen, and from that we can easily interpret that Mesolithic era mans were indeed hunters and gatherers. Okay. Now, most commonly depicted theme is the animal depiction. Okay. It is said that around 29 species of different animals are depicted across these rock paintings. Okay. And by the way, we are referring to which site? Now, that is important. These paintings, which we will be discussing now, they are discovered from a very important Mesolithic site, that is Bhimbetka. Now, Bhimbetka was discovered accidentally by Indian archaeologist V.S. Wakhankar. Okay, Wakhankar. Now, V.S. Wakhankar, he was traveling to Bhopal, and suddenly, while traveling to Bhopal, from the train, okay, he could gauge that some rocks are there, okay, shelters like he assumed. And then he went with his team, and then he began his excavation and his discovery. After excavation, it was revealed that there were literally around 400 to 500 rock shelters. And inside those rock shelters, there are thousands of rock paintings. So that is indeed a invaluable heritage for our for our country. Okay. Now, so that is you need to know. So these paintings which we are discussing now, they are the Bhimbetka, from the Bhimbetka, okay, discovered by V.S. Wakhankar. Fine. Now, the themes, as I was talking about animal themes, so total 29 species of different animals have been discovered. Which are these animals? Okay. So deer is there, bison is there, wild goats are there, elephants are there, rhinoceros is there, different birds are there. Now, one thing which I would like to mention over here, this is documented in the Archaeological Survey of India's document, that across the paintings. Now, so many rock paintings they have discovered, but nowhere they have found the image of snake. Can you imagine? Now, snakes, they must be existing at that time, right? They are on this earth from so many years, million years, snakes are there, okay? But what a strange thing that there are so many species of animals depicted, but there is not a single image of snake. Now that is a mystery for archaeologists. That why snakes are not depicted? Probably men were scared. That could be a reason, or some other reason could be there. But we do not find a single image of snake. So if UPSC will put this question across the rock painting, snakes are predominantly depicted. Correct or incorrect? Your answer is incorrect because you do not find a single image of snake. Okay, so please remember this point. Okay, now, so I hope which animals are depicted, that is pretty clear. Okay, the next important thing, how are these depictions done? So usually men and humans, they are depicted in a stick-like form, and even some animals are depicted in a stick-like form. There are some animals in fuller forms also, but usually human beings are depicted in a stick-like form. Okay, stick-like form like this. Okay, like this. I'm not that good at drawing. Okay, like this. Okay, like this. Okay, like this. They drew the paintings. Okay, of human beings. Now, yeah, let us proceed ahead. So when I talk about the scenes, so hunting scenes dominate. So there are many scenes which depict hunters are there with the microlithic tools. Bows are there, arrows are there, spears are there, okay, and they are hunting the animal. Fine. Depiction of daily life. So there is a depiction of dancing scenes, gathering food, fishing scenes, okay, honey collection. All these activities are also depicted, okay, and beliefs and symbols, even they are there. So we will understand them in detail. What are the major sites? Where do we find this rock paintings? Bhimbetka, which is most widely studied one. Then even at Adamgarh, it's in Madhya Pradesh. There also rock paintings are there. Kakadu, it's in Rajasthan, okay. Laglanj, it's in Gujarat, and Pachmari, again in MP. So here also you find rock paintings, but predominantly one site which is known for this is Bhimbetka. Okay, let us move ahead. Yeah. Now let us try to decode what does this theme depict. Okay. Now first of all, as I've mentioned, that animal scenes dominate. Animals are widely depicted. So what does this depict? So first of all, it depicts that man used to stay in synchronization with the nature. Okay, he used to stay in the rock, in the shelters which were surrounded by the natural forest, and hence man was in sync with the nature, and hence so many animals he could observe on the day-to-day basis, and he could draw them, okay, uh, put it on the paintings. Okay, second important thing, hunting was the basic livelihood of man, and hence hunting scenes dominate. Okay, now one thing which is understood in the hunting scenes, see, if a prey was very small, like for example if the prey was a deer or there was a wild goat, okay, so if the prey was very small, man used to single-handedly go and hunt it alone. He used to do the hunting. But if the prey was very big, like for example it was a wild elephant or it was a bison, okay, or rhinoceros, at that time group hunting was done. So what does this signify? This signifies that slowly and gradually man was socializing, isn't it? Socializing, it means that he came to know that alone he could not survive. He has to depend on his co-members, co-community members, and that marks the beginning of community life of a man. Okay, so this is a very important thing which you need to interpret, that group hunting depicts that m- socializing of man. So man was slowly and gradually socializing, and this hints towards the earliest communities. Okay, formation of earliest communities. Getting it? That you need to remember. So in this manner, you have to interpret the things. Okay, the next important thing that we see over here. Uh, Now, one thing which is observed is that hunting is done by men and gathering of food is done by women. Now, why? Now, archaeologists suggest that there could be a gender bias or there could be a division of labor. Now, what is the meaning of this? Okay. Now, this hints that the task which required a lot of physical energy, lot of labor, that's done by men. Like, for example, hunting in the wild. But the task which required less human labor, that is just going and collecting fruits, flowers, roots, tubers, that was done by women. So this shows what? First of all, there could be a division of labor. Division of labor means that, yes, women will excel in these tasks. Men are good at this. So we will focus on this. Who is better in what? That person will do that thing. Second thing, the second interpretation is that there could be a gender bias that from that point onwards, they might have considered that females are biological inferior to men, and as a result, they are made to work or to do such task in the sense which requires less energy. Okay, so these are the two interpretations which you need to mention. Okay, so either there could be a division of labor or there could be a gender bias. Okay, then the next important thing, can you see over here? These are the palm impressions. Okay. Now, if you know that in Hinduism or in across the different communities, if there is something auspicious, okay, or whenever we do entry into a new house, okay, we put, or even a bride is there, the newly wedded bride, even her hand impressions are marked on the wall. Okay, so this is a gesture of that. Okay, people are putting their palm impression. This could be something which is auspicious for them. Okay, so even that is being depicted over here. And can you see over here, the stick like depictions are there. Okay, hunting scene is there, which is stick like depicted. Okay, so these are the features of the Mesolithic paintings. So if there is a question, first of all, try to write about the brushes, what brushes they use. That is, the animal tail hair was used, plant fiber was used. Second, write about the colors. How did the color was made? Red color, white color, green color. From which minerals they got it? How did they mix it so that the colors would bind with the floor or the ceiling? And today also they are fresh because of that. Then try to write about the themes. Okay, animal themes dominate, hunting scenes, which shows that man was a hunter, then gathering of food, that shows that man was a gatherer. Fishing was done, so that scenes are also there. Then you can mention about domestication of animals, which is a characteristic feature of the Mesolithic era. Okay, even that can be interpreted from these paintings. How? Because animals, like especially dogs, are shown across the community life. Okay, so along with the men, we even find the images of dogs. Okay, images of sheep, goat, so that depicts that ki man revered them, considered them as a part of their family. Why? Because across their family members, along with the family members, even these animals are depicted. So this hints towards what? Beginning of domestication of animals. Mention this point. Okay, the next point which you can mention is that, very important thing, there are dancing scenes also. Now just imagine, if there is a dancing scene, there must be some sort of a music. So if the music is there, dance is there, this hints towards what? Development of aesthetic sense of man. Slowly and gradually, man was becoming more and more creative. See, painting itself is a creation, right? You are painting, so it's a creativity. Dancing, music, this shows what? You are exploring your creativity, your aesthetic skills. That also you can mention. Okay, so mention all these points. Next important thing, microliths. Okay, now if you look at the tools are that small arrows, bows. Now these arrows are nothing but the composite tools with the microliths attached. So from that also we can say that microliths were the characteristic tools of the Mesolithic era. So in this manner, you have to write a comprehensive answer. Okay, and finally, there is one more abstract painting which I would like to discuss, especially because this can come in the examination. Okay, so this is a very famous, notable painting discovered from Bhimbetka. Okay, now this painting is known as, famously it is known as Bhimbetka Bore. Okay, so it is known as a Bhimbetka Bore. You can see over here. I'll just fix this. Yeah. So Bhimbetka Bore. Now, this is actually a combination of different animals. If you look at this Bhimbetka boar, okay, combination of different animals in the sense, this particular animal has a boar-like a body. If you look at his body, the body is like a boar, but his snout, this is like a rhinoceros. Okay, this part is like a rhinoceros. Okay, the underlip, this part is like an elephant. Okay, then horns are like a buffalo, and the so body is like a boar. Okay, underlip is like an elephant, snout is like a rhino, horns are like a buffalo. So definitely this is something imaginary creature which the Mesolithic painters created. Okay, so please remember this. There's a famous boar painting which is a combination of different animals. So this depicts what the abstract thinking, the artistic skills of a man. Okay, the imagination power of a man. Okay, where he created an animal which is a combination of so many different animals. Okay, so like that you have to interpret these rock paintings. Okay, how can you conclude? So, indeed, these rock paintings are a very important source of information to study about the Mesolithic age life, okay? The life of Mesolithic age man. And these paintings are the earliest paintings of a mankind. So, indeed, these are a very important treasure of Indian prehistory, okay? And these paintings further laid the foundation of Indian paintings because these are the earliest paintings. So definitely they laid the foundation of the further paintings in Indian subcontinent. Okay, so these are the foundational paintings of Indian painting that also you can mention. Fine. So this is all about the important rock paintings which you need to know and you need to describe in your answer. Okay, so that's it for the Mesolithic age. I hope the topic is pretty clear. So Mesolithic age is a middle stone age. Do remember all its characteristic features like the microliths, the geometric tools. Then remember the earliest sign of domestication of animals began during this period. And also remember about the rock paintings, which are very significant and which are very important. Okay, that's it for today's session. Thank you so much. And do watch this video, do revise this video, look at the previous content as well. And in the upcoming session, we'll be studying about the Neolithic age. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you. Hello, aspirants. Now, in this journey of prehistoric India, we have reached a very crucial stage. Okay. So, can you just imagine from being a hunter gatherer, from being a food gatherer, man became a food producer. And he began to settle down in his own permanent shelters. Yet, this was a great transformation in the history forever because this marks the beginning of a settled human communities. And the beginning of the earliest villages of the mankind. And this is termed as a Neolithic revolution. And in today's session, we are going to study about this interesting topic referred to as Neolithic revolution. So let's begin with the topic that is the Neolithic revolution. I hope the screen is visible. Now, who coined this word Neolithic revolution? So there was a great historian and an archaeologist, Gordon Child. Okay, so Gordon Child was the one who, for the very first time, referred to the Neolithic age as the age of revolution. Now, why did he refer to this age as the age of a revolution? Now, by the way, what do you mean by a revolution? Revolution means a drastic change, okay? So something drastic happened in this age, and hence this age is referred to as the age of revolution. So, what is that drastic thing that happened in this period that we are going to understand in today's session, okay? By the way, you can expect a mains question in GS paper 1 on this topic. They can give you a statement. Neolithic age is referred to as the age of revolution. Elaborate, discuss. This can be a 10 marker question, okay, in the mains examination. Already, this question came in the history optional in the year 2023. Okay, the question was the Neolithic age is referred to as the age of revolution. Elaborate or discuss. Okay, so similar question you can expect in the general studies as well because there is a pattern of UPSC asking optional questions in the general studies papers as well. Fine. Now, when I talk about the timeline of the Neolithic age, now first of all, neo means what? New. Lithic means stone. So we are referring to new stone age. Okay. If you look at the timeline in the Indian subcontinent, it began from around 6000 BCE and it continued up to 4000 BCE. Okay. However, in the Indian subcontinent, the timelines varies as per the regions. Like for example, in the northwest India, it continued up to 4000 BCE. However, in the eastern India, it continued up to 1000 BC. Also, in the central India and the south India, it continued up to 1000 BC. Okay, so this timeline of the Neolithic age across Indian subcontinent varies. Fine. Now let us try to understand what are the key characteristic features of this age and why it is referred to as an age of a revolution. Okay. So the very first significant change was the change in the subsistence pattern. Now, what do you mean by subsistence? Subsistence means that whatever you do for your livelihood, for your survival. Now, if you know, in the Paleolithic age and in the Mesolithic age, what did man do for his basic survival? That is, he did hunting, gathering of food from the forest, fishing, right? Honey collection. All these were the subsistence activities of man in the Paleolithic and the Mesolithic age. So basically, we can say that man was a food gatherer. Right. But now that underwent a biggest change. From a food gatherer, man actually became a food producer. He learned the technique of growing crops. Okay. And that is known as the beginning of agriculture. So, beginning of agriculture was one of the most significant changes in the history of a mankind. Now, why it is considered to be a significant change in the history of mankind? Because, see, if you are a hunter gatherer, today you are here. Okay, for example, the resources of this place exhausted. You will go somewhere else and you will settle over there and you will use the resources in that area. If the resources in that area also ended, you will go somewhere else in the search of the resources. However, when you are practicing agriculture, you cannot wander from one place to another place, right? Why? Because crops have a particular cycle, right? You sow the seeds, then they grow, they mature, then there is a harvesting. So this entire thing requires at least 4 to 5 months of a duration. And in that 4 to 5 months, you cannot just keep changing your place from here to there. You have to take care of your crops. You have to protect them from the attack of the wild animals. Correct. So man began to slowly and gradually settle down near his farms. Earlier, he used to stay in the rock shelters. Getting it? But now he had to create his own shelter, which is very near to his farm, from where he could take care of his farm. Right? So this agriculture led to a very important change, and that was the beginning of a settled life of a man. This is also referred to as beginning of a sedentary life, settled life of a man. All right, so sedentary lifestyle of a man began. Now, when I talk about agriculture, which crops were grown by man, okay, in this Neolithic period? So, for the very first time, the crops that were grown, and we even have the evidences of those crops, they were wheat and barley, and even cotton was grown, okay. So, wheat and barley are considered to be the earliest crops which were grown by man in the Neolithic age, okay. And we have evidences of wheat and barley being grown from a very important site, that is Meherghar. Okay, we'll talk about this sites in the upcoming slide. So Meherghar, it is in present day Pakistan. This is a very important site. Here we find the earliest evidences of wheat and barley being grown, and even cotton was grown over here in the Meherghar site. Okay, so that is the first important change. Okay, so please remember, from a food gatherer, now man became a food producer. Okay, now the next important thing was that, now in order to practice agriculture, man was dependent on cattle. Correct. He required cattle for plowing of the land. Fine. So now he began to do cattle rearing, domestication of animals on a large scale. See, domestication of animals began in the Mesolithic period, but that was the earliest phase of domestication of animals. In this phase, domestication of animals expanded. Man required now animals for his agricultural use. Okay, so now he began to domesticate animals like cattle. Not only this, he domesticated animals like sheep, goat. Okay, dogs were there to protect his field. Okay, because dogs used to give a sign by barking that yes, some element, someone is coming and attacking, some wild animal is coming and attacking, so man would be prepared to protect his field. Fine. Now, from the sheep and goat, man got milk. Okay, from cattle's, man got milk. Okay, and apart from that, he got fur, he got wool. Not only this, he got meat. From the sheep he got meat. Okay, so all these were the uses of domestication of animals. Okay, so pastoralism was a very important occupation during this period that indeed supported agriculture. Primary base was agriculture. Agriculture was supported by pastoralism. Okay, now, in order to cook food, in order to store the food grains, man would require utensils, right? And that led to the beginning of ceramics and the related technology, that is pottery making tradition. Okay, so the earliest pottery making tradition began in the Neolithic age. So initially, the pots that were made were not that fine or not that polished ones. They were made by hand. Okay, but slowly and gradually, in this period only, man began to make pots by wheel. All right. So initially the pots were handmade, and slowly and gradually he shifted towards the wheel made pot. And that was indeed a technological advancement. Okay. Now, what was the use of the pottery? Pottery was used for storage of the food grains, it was used for cooking, for the cooking purpose. And archaeologists have discovered the pottery of different shapes and sizes. Okay. So there are plates, there are bowls, there are perforated vessels. Okay. Strainers are there. So all this ceramic tradition have been discovered, and slowly and gradually we see even advancement in this ceramic tradition. Okay, we see that the pots slowly and gradually became very beautiful. They were even painted, okay, with the geometric designs, with the floral designs. All right. So this hints towards the progress and the innovation. And the next important feature is settled pattern of man and beginning of the earliest villages of mankind. Okay. So now man began to settle down near the farms. Okay, and he constructed his own houses. So earlier, if you guys remember, where did he live? He lived in the rock shelters. The famous ones are the Bhimbetka rock shelters, full of paintings, right? But now he constructed his own houses, and these houses were made from wattle, okay, from mud, and small rectangular circular houses were constructed during this period. Slowly and gradually they settled down, communities were built, and that resulted in the beginning of the earliest villages of the mankind. Okay, so Neolithic age is indeed very important because it lays the foundation of a settled life of a mankind. Let us proceed ahead and understand yet another characteristic feature of the Neolithic age, and they are the Neolithic tools. Okay, so Neolithic tools are indeed symbol or epitome of technological advancement. Fine. Now, when we talk about these tools were the finest ones, polished ones, very superior in their usage, and most importantly, they were smaller in their sizes. Okay, so we have understood that from Paleolithic age to Mesolithic age to Neolithic age, slowly and gradually, stone tools underwent transformation. They became more and more robust, more and more advanced, more and more polished, all right, and useful. Now, when I talk about the stone tools, they were made from materials like quartz were used, chalcedony was used, chert was used, jasper, and even basalt was used. Okay, and the tools of Neolithic period called as the grounded tools. Why they are called as the grounded tools? Because they were grinded, crushed against each other. Now, can you imagine if you are just crushing against each other? What will happen? The external layers will move away and you will get a smooth surface. So hence, because of that grounding technique, the tools were quite smooth. Okay, the edges, can you see over here? The edges over here, they are very smooth. Okay, rounded over here. So that is the technique which was used in the Neolithic era. Fine. Now, the tools were very much polished and they were finished. Tools were grounded and polished to give them a sharp cutting edges and very smooth surfaces. Okay, that shows advanced craftsmanship. Tools were used for diverse functions, like they were used for agriculture, cutting, digging, grinding, boring, hunting, scrapping, and even in the regular domestic activities. They helped in clearing the forest, cultivation of land, food processing. So tools had a diverse functionality. Okay, they were of a very well shape. Okay, like for example, we had axes for the cutting purpose, sickles were there for harvesting, cones were there for grinding. Okay, so all these had very, very well designed shapes and very well designed functionality. Okay. Not only this, we find even regional variations across the stone tools. Okay. Now we are going to understand the examples of the stone tools of this period. Okay. So what are the examples? So axes, can you see over here? These are the different types of axes. These were also called as celt. Okay. CELTS. So they were used for cutting the trees, clearing the forest, for wood work. Okay. Aids, these are the aids. Okay, so aids were used for shaping wood, following canoes, okay, and smoothing the surfaces. Then this is sickle, which was used for the harvesting of crops, wheat and barley. Then these are the chisels and the pointed tools, okay. So these were mainly used for drilling purpose, okay. Then can you see over here, grinding tools. If you know, Indian cuisine is known for its masalas. And if you go to South India, if you go to North India, there are different ways in which masalas are made. And this is a traditional way of grinding, okay. In Maharashtra, okay, we usually use coconut, and even South Indians use coconut, right? So coconut is being grinded on this cones, okay. So these were used widely in this particular Neolithic age, okay. Then we had borers were there, okay, to make holes in the leather, in the wood. Scrapers were there. So these are the different types of tools which were found in the Neolithic period. Materials used, you can see at the end, quartz was used, chalcedony, chert, jasper, and basalt, okay. And please remember, the Neolithic tools are called as the grounded tools. Why? Because the grounding technique was used to make these tools, okay. Tools are stronger, more durable, more efficient. They are very much symmetrical in their proportions, okay, and very well balanced. And this indeed shows what technological advancement. So that is a very important feature of this age, okay. Slowly and gradually, as the ages progress, man depicted his ability to learn and advance, okay. Now, we are going to understand important sites in India, Neolithic sites in India, and they are very important from the preliminary perspective. If you look at the UPSC questions, they do ask sites, and in these years, in the recent 3 to 4 years, the questions from sites have increased. Okay, so let us try to understand the important sites, Neolithic sites. Okay, so the very first site is the Mehergarh. As I have mentioned, that Mehergarh is a very important site because here we find the earliest evidences of wheat and barley. Not only this, even the evidences of domestication of sheep, cattle, and goat. Okay, the bones have been discovered from this site. So this is located where? It's in Pakistan. Okay, the next important sites. Now, the site number 2 and site number 3 are the most important sites from Kashmir. Okay, so first we'll see the site number 2. This is Burza Home. Burza Home is a characteristic Neolithic site of Kashmir. Why it is called as a characteristic Neolithic site of Kashmir? Because here, because of the climatic conditions, people preferred living in pits. Can you see over here? Pit. So this is called as pit dwelling. People used to live in pit. Underground houses were constructed in order to escape the cold weather. So this can be a preliminary question. Which site is known for pit dwelling? So please remember, Burza Home is the site from Kashmir which is known for pit dwelling. Okay, and there is also a very interesting discovery from Burza Home. The discovery is of a graveyard where dog and the master, they were buried in the same grave. Okay, so there is a grave where dog and the master are together buried. Okay, so this hints towards the earliest human and animal relations. Okay, we all know that the relation between dogs and humans are very, if you domesticate, if you have a pet dog, then you develop into a very emotional relationship with that pet. Okay, so that is evident from this particular example. Okay, so please do remember this. Now, the next site is Gufkrul. Okay, Gufkrul is yet another characteristic site of Kashmir, and here also we find the evidences of pit dwelling. Okay, and Gufkrul, it literally means cave of the potter. The meaning of the Gufkrul is cave of the potter. Okay, so that you need to remember. Fine. Now, coming towards Koldiva, that is Uttar Pradesh. Okay, so Koldiva is the site where we find the earliest evidences of rice cultivation in India. So please remember this. Where do we find the earliest rice cultivation, evidences of rice cultivation in India? It's in Koldiva, where in Uttar Pradesh. Okay, and also here archaeologists have discovered a lot of microliths belonging to the Mesolithic era. Then the next important site, so Koldiva, it's from UP, and this is known for rice. Okay, then Chiran. Chiran is yet another important site. It's in Bihar. Now, this site is mainly known for the excavation of large number of bone tools. So large number of bone tools are discovered from Chirand. Okay, so harpoons are there, awls are there, and lot of bone tools, microliths have been discovered from Chirand. Okay, now coming to Karnataka. In Karnataka, we have number of sites. So first one is Maski, second is Brahmagiri, third is Halur, fourth is Kodekal, fifth is Sanganakallu, seventh is T Narsipur, and the last is Takkalukutta. So these are the sites from Karnataka, okay? And all these sites are known for the different remains from the Neolithic period. Like we have pottery over here, Neolithic pottery over here. We have ash mounds, okay? There are ash mounds over here. Then we even have the evidences of animal bones from these sites, okay? So these are the important sites. Please remember Maski, Brahmagiri, Halur, Kodekal, Sanganakallu, T. Narsipur, and Takkalkot, okay? Now, coming towards Andhra Pradesh, so the sites from Andhra Pradesh are Piklihal, a very important Neolithic site from Andhra Pradesh, and Uttunur. Okay, so there are two sites from Andhra Pradesh, Uttunur and Piklihal. Okay, then from Tamil Nadu, we have a very important site, Payampalli. So remember Payampalli, it's a site from Tamil Nadu. And finally, from Assam, we have a site, Daujalo Hading. Okay, so Daujalo Hading is a characteristic Neolithic site of Assam. Okay, so where we find the earliest evidences of farming communities in Assam region. So these are the important sites from the Neolithic age. Try to revise them once or twice and you will be in a position to recollect them. Okay, so first one is Mehergar, it's in Pakistan. Please remember earliest cultivation of wheat and barley and evidences of sheep, goat and cattle domestication. Okay, Burzaum and Gufkrul, sorry, these are the two sites from Kashmir. Burzaum and Gufkrul are known for pit dwelling, and Burzaum is particularly known for the graveyard where we find the evidences of dog and humans being buried together in the same grave. Okay, Koldiva, earliest evidences of rice cultivation in the Indian subcontinent from Koldiva. Tiran, large number of bone tools. Sites in Karnataka, Maski, Brahmagiri, Halur, Kodekal, Sanganakallu, T. Narsipur, and Takkalkotta. From Andhra Pradesh, only two sites, okay? Piklihal and Uttanur. So what you can do, you remember the sites from Andhra Pradesh and Tamil Nadu. And if in the examination you get any site, so you know, for example, if you get any site from Karnataka and you are not able to recollect, but you know the sites of Andhra Pradesh, only two are there. UP, Uttanur and Piklihal. From Tamil Nadu, only one site, Payampalli. So, apart from this three, whatever such South Indian names will come, these are the sites from Karnataka. Maski, Brahmagiri, Halur, Kodekal, Sanganakallu, T. Narsipur and Takkalkota. From Assam, a very unique name, Daujalo Hading. Okay. So, remember these sites and these are indeed very important from the preliminary perspective. Okay. So, with this, we have completed all the stages of our prehistoric India. That is, we have completed Paleolithic age, we have completed Mesolithic age, and finally, today we covered a very important part of the prehistoric India, and that is Neolithic age. Okay, do prepare the mains question on Neolithic age as the age of revolution. Revise the sites, okay? And in the upcoming session, we are going to discuss MCQs related to the prehistoric India. Okay, so all the different MCQs, even the PYQs related to this topic, I'll be discussing in the upcoming session. Okay, stay tuned. Thank you so much. I hope you guys are enjoying the lecture series. Thank you. Hello, aspirants. We have covered the topic prehistoric India and we have understood all the different phases of Indian Stone Age, right from the Paleolithic age to up to Neolithic age. Today, in this session, we are going to solve few important MCQs related to this topic, and also you will get an idea about how to solve this MCQs. So let us proceed ahead. Yeah. So the very first question, as you can see over here on the screen, is which of the following is a characteristic feature of a Paleolithic age? So options given here are agriculture, polished stone tools, hunting and food gathering, and pottery making. So I've already mentioned the answers, but then we'll be discussing about them in detail. Okay. Now the question is, which of the following are the characteristic features of the Paleolithic age? Okay. Now, agriculture definitely did not start in that period. Agriculture is a characteristic feature of which age? If this is the question, the answer will be Neolithic. Okay. Even the polished stone tools were not the characteristics of the Paleolithic age, because if you know the Paleolithic age, man had just began the technique of making stone tools. So tools were very big and bulky and rough. Okay. Hunting and gathering was the primary source of subsistence of a man in the Paleolithic age, and hence the answer is hunting and food gathering. What about pottery making? The pottery making tradition began again in the Neolithic age. All right, so please remember these points. So what is the answer? Answer is C, hunting and food gathering. The next question is, microliths are the characteristic tools of which of the following periods? Paleolithic, Mesolithic, Neolithic, or Chalcolithic? Now, we all know that microliths are the characteristic stone tools of the Mesolithic age. Okay. Now, if you guys remember, micro are the small stone tools which dominated the Mesolithic era, and these tools ranged in the sizes from 1 centimeter to 5 centimeter. And these were in the different geometric shapes. Like we had triangle, lunate, crescent, trapezoid, okay? And also we had composite tools in the same age. Composite tools where a bone handle or a wooden handle was attached to the microlith, okay? Then coming towards the next question, the third one. Beginning of agriculture is associated with Upper Paleolithic, Mesolithic, Neolithic, or Chalcolithic. We all know that Neolithic age is a very significant period. It is often referred to as the period of revolution. Why? Because man from a food gatherer became a food producer, and that is because of the beginning of agriculture. Getting it? And most importantly, agriculture led to the beginning of settled life, sedentary life of a man. Hence, the answer is Neolithic age. Let us move ahead. Yes. So the next MCQ, question number 4 is, which of the following are the characteristic features of a Neolithic age? So first statement is, microliths were the characteristic tools of this age, beginning of agriculture, manufacture of pottery, and use of metals. So you have to select the answer using the code given below. Now, if you look at the statements, so let's comprehend each and every statement. The very first statement, microliths were the characteristic tools of this age. Definitely it is false. Why? Because microliths are the characteristic tools of Mesolithic era. So if I eliminate statement number 1, I can easily come to the answer. Just check the options. Eliminate all the options which contain statement number 1. So A goes, C goes, and D goes. So what is the answer? B, 2 and 3 only. Now let us analyze the remaining statements. Okay, so we have got the answer. But still, let us analyze the remaining statements. Beginning of agriculture, definitely it is a characteristic feature of the Neolithic age. Manufacturing of pottery, yes, the pottery making tradition began in the Neolithic age. Why? Because of agriculture, man began to produce food grains and man required utensils to store that food grains. And as a result, the tradition of pottery making began. Initially, this pottery was handmade, but in the same Neolithic age only, with the invention of wheel, man began to make wheel-made pottery. Okay, so the answer 3, the statement number 3 is absolutely correct. What about the use of metals? Okay, now please remember, why do we call these ages Paleolithic, Mesolithic, and Neolithic as a stone ages? Why? Because man used stone as a primary thing to make the tools. Metals were not yet invented, so metal age in the stone ages is has not yet, like, it did not start at that point of time. Okay, metal age began with the chalcolithic period. If you look at the word chalcolithic, so in this chalcolithic, chalco refers to copper and lithic refers to stone. So chalcolithic age is the period which marks the beginning of the use of metal. Okay, along with the stone, man began to use metal in the chalcolithic period, which we are going to cover in the upcoming session. Okay, so use of metal, no, use of metal began in which age? Please remember, chalcolithic age, where chalco refers to copper and lithic refers to stone. So in the Chalcolithic age, man was using copper and stone tools together. Okay, so I hope this particular question is pretty clear. So answer for this is in definitely B, 2 and 3. Okay, let us move ahead and clear the screen. Let us move towards the next question. Question number 5. Consider the following pairs. So on left hand side, we have archaeological sites, and on the right hand side, they have given the period to which that site belongs. Okay, and you have to identify how many of the pairs given is or are correctly matched. Okay, so the very first one is Meherghar, and it's mentioned that it belongs to Neolithic age. Then Hangsi, Paleolithic age. Kurnul caves, again Paleolithic, and Daujalo Harding Neolithic. Okay, so what is the answer? Now, this is typically UPSC MCQ. Okay, so in UPSC you can get such type of an MCQ where they will give you the sites, archaeological sites, and you have to match with the period to which it belonged. Okay, so when I talk about Mehergarh, definitely it's a Neolithic site. Okay, if you guys remember, Mehergarh, it's located in Pakistan, present day Pakistan. And this is the site which is known for the earliest cultivation of wheat and barley. Okay, so this was also known as the bread basket of Neolithic age. Bread basket. Why? Because wheat was for the first time grown over here, even barley. Okay. Next is Hangsi. Hangsi is definitely a Paleolithic site. Hangsi is known for it's an important site in Karnataka. Okay, so if you remember Paleolithic age, three important sites we have studied: B, H, K. B for Bhimbetka, which is in Madhya Pradesh. H for Hangsi in Karnataka, and yet another site in Andhra Pradesh. Okay, this is in Andhra Pradesh, and that is Kurnool Caves. Kurnool Caves, again a Paleolithic site, and this is known for the earliest evidences of ashes, which confirms the knowledge of use of fire by man. Okay, so the earliest evidence of ashes were discovered from the Kurnool caves, and when the radiocarbon dating of those ashes was done, it was revealed that the ashes belong to Paleolithic age. And this gives us a very big confirmation that at that point of time, man had the knowledge of use of fire, and man used fire, okay, for different day-to-day works. Then the next is Daujalo Hading. This is a characteristic Neolithic site of the state of Assam. Okay, this is located in Assam. So please remember the description, detailed explanation is given over here, but that's it. I hope these are the simple things which you can easily remember. So what is the answer for this? All the pairs are absolutely correct. Okay, let us move ahead. Yeah. The next question and the last one for the day is, which of the following Neolithic site is known for its unique burial of a master and a dog in the same grave? Okay. So the options given are Mehergarh, Burza Home, Daujalo Hading, or Chiran. So the answer for this question, as we all know, is Burza Home. Okay. So Burza Home is a characteristic site of Kashmir. There is one more site in Kashmir, Gufkral. Okay. So Burza Home, and Gufkral are the two important Neolithic sites of Kashmir. Okay, and Burza Home and Gufkral are mainly known for pit dwelling. Underground houses were there. Why? Because it was very cold in the Kashmir area. So to escape from the extreme cold, underground houses were there. And Burza home is known for this characteristic grave. Okay, this grave houses the burial of a man who was a master, and his dog was there. So this depicts what? Earliest association of man and animals. Apart from that, this also hints towards the domestication of animals being a prominent aspect of the age. Okay, so these are the important MCQs related to the prehistoric India, which we have successfully completed. And in the upcoming session, we are going to begin the next topic related to our ancient Indian history, that is Chalcolithic age. Okay, thank you so much for the day. I hope you guys are enjoying this series, and if you have any doubts with respect to this, you can post it in the comment section. Thank you so much.